Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 397, Tackling the Class Head On. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. How you doing, boys?
Doing good. Finally, this weekend, we finally had a glimpse of this thing called the sun over here after having it rain basically every day of this year so far. So that was fun. But up here in Birmingham, it's back to the dreary greyness that we're all used to.
Yeah, it has been nice to be dry for a little while. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's just been nice to see the sun. I just need it to get a little bit warmer now, though. It's still quite Baltic out there, but aside from that, I'm not going to complain too much.
You like it Baltic?
I do like it Baltic, but it's been Baltic for a long time now, and I want to go out and walk a bit and do stuff. The thing is, in this weather, you can't. All the fields are saturated. You can't go out anywhere or do anything. So I need it to warm up so the fields dry out, so I can go outside in the freezing cold and then walk. So it's layers to this stuff.
We are here to talk about the tackle class of the 2026 NFL draft. The Lions highly rumoured to be taking a tackle in the first two rounds. Whether or not Taylor Decker comes back in 2026, it looks like we either need one for 2027 or potentially as a rotational piece for 2026 or as a starter, depending on whether he does go or not. So we thought it would be a good time to break it down today in terms of how we think about it right now. And of course, things move and we leave it open to revisit this as we get closer because it's going to be one of the more important classes. Just want to say hello to the guys in the chat. We're going to be fielding your comments all the way through the show. So if there's anything you want to ask, then please do so. Of course, congratulations go out to our American friends after their win yesterday in one of the most dramatic ice hockey Olympic finals of all time. It was an absolute cracker. I can say that apart from your goaltender, I'm not sure it was particularly deserved. He deserves all of the fucking gold medals that you have. Like, just give them all to that guy. He was absolutely magnificent.
Well, Michigan in general deserves all the gold medals because all four of the guys on the ice for that win were connected to Michigan. And then, of course, the person who scored the winning goal for the women's ice hockey team is from Michigan. So Michigan is carrying Team USA hockey right now.
Love it. Some people in the chat right now, Grandizer 12, Austin Damon, BCZ says tuning in for Metro Detroit, let's fucking go. Danny Mack as well. Trippy Gypsy says, can any of your boys across the pond explain how hockey is popular enough in the UK to have the elite ice hockey league, but you never have any Olympic teams? Well, we will be in the world group for some tournament coming up, which means that the GB team will be going up against America. And don't worry, if it's not double figures, we will be very surprised.
I love all this roasting of GB as if we haven't won a gold medal in ice hockey ourselves.
You'll have to tell us when.
I'll have to look it up. I know that GB have won the Olympic ice hockey gold medal.
See, what you don't realise also is that the Elite Hockey League over here is full of a bunch of cast-offs from over there. They're not actually British.
Yeah, they're all American.
There's a good part of the league is cast-offs from over there, like not British players. It's like with basketball. We've got quite a few basketball players over here, but a lot of them come from college basketball over there, looking to make a name for themselves. I watch the Sharks quite regularly. I watch the Sharks every now and then, and a lot of non-British people on there, so it's not like we can feel the team sometimes.
So number one, go Panthers, obviously me being from Nottingham. Number two, Great Britain won an ice hockey gold medal before you Americans did. We won it in 36. You guys didn't win a gold medal in ice hockey.
Well, to be fair, America was a very young country in 1936.
True.
They'd only been around for 170 years.
True.
So, 80 years ago, guys.
No, you're not young unless...
90 years ago, I can't add.
No, you're not young unless you can date Leonardo DiCaprio. Those are the rules.
I'm not young anymore.
America's way too old to be dated by Leo, so,
Who has been over here at the BAFTAs, of course. Anyway, enough chit-chat. I do want to address one thing which has been said by Terry Perry, which is something we didn't put on our prep doc, but I'm not going to go into preamble stuff. I'll put the Discord links in there, but apart from that, you guys know what to do by now. Jameer Gibbs, it's been rumoured he is in contract talks with the Lions. The rumour, boys, is that he's going to be made the highest paid running back in the NFL, which I'm guessing the highest is McCaffrey at
Saquon.
Saquon is
20
Saquon,
and a
yeah.
half.
Okay. Are we good with that? That's a lot of dough.
So the rumor is 22 million a year. So the only issue I have with it, as long as there's not a fuck ton of guaranteed in it, if you're in a situation where if you're going to give him 88 million, then you guarantee like what, 35, 40 of it over the first couple of years, and then it's options and stuff that can be exercised as you go on, then that's fine. And that's usually the sensible thing you do. Obviously, running back agents will push for more, but so long as you... And to be honest, if you got 2 years in the future and the guaranteed money was running out and he was still doing good, he'd probably want a new contract anyhow. So it's fine so long as the guaranteed is low. It's if the guaranteed's high when it becomes an issue, because quite respectfully, no running back is worth $22 million a year. Over a 4-year period. It's such a volatile position that we cannot afford to have money vested in him with all the other big contracts we've got coming up as well. You've got to be very careful with it. So, yes, in theory, as long as the guaranteed is low.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like roster, what we saw with Kirby's, where it's a load of like option bonuses, roster bonuses, and that kick in the year before. Happy with that. Performance bonuses as well. So like some of like the one that like Sam Darnold got, where he got an extra $1 million in his contract because obviously they won the Super Bowl. Stuff like that. Ways to kind of give him his money, but at the same time, yeah, just prepare us for the future because, yeah, what happens if he has obviously touch wood, it does not happen. He has a freak injury, and then everything that was good about him goes. Suddenly, if you're on strength him for another 60-odd million, you're screwed.
I think the important thing, if you're going to pay a running back that sort of money, is that they're as productive in the pass game as they are in the run game. And we saw significant flashes of that where Gibbs was getting the most or second most targets and receptions in the game. If he becomes someone who you can flex out as a receiver and have another running back in the play. So you've got Monty in the backfield with Gibbs lined up in one slot with Amon-Ra in the other slot. Suddenly that becomes a real goer. You've got two people in Gibbs and Amon-Ra who can beat man coverage because they're just that twitchy. Then fine. But it does mean that you're not paying a third wide receiver, which basically means unless you move on from Jamal or Amon-Ra, Tesla is just a rookie player, and then that's it for him. You're always kind of going to be looking to go cheap at X because you can't afford to pay 4 pass catches. I do wonder what that does to Sam Laporta's deal, because I don't think you can give Gibbs that sort of money and really pay Laporta. I think that makes that really tough because you can
Tag him and then trade him.
You can only go so far with paying pass catchers. You need to protect them. We've invested in the line. We need a significantly investments in defensive line stuff. Like, all of this is starting to feel quite difficult. But I don't see any other option either. I'm complaining about this a little bit. But, like, are you really going to let him walk? Are you going to trade this guy? Like, no, of course not. So you pay him and then you just deal with the consequences later, which could be painful. But I think I could live with some people going, but Gibbs would feel especially painful.
Yeah, it's a lot. You've got to be careful. And the thing you've got to be careful of is people look at the deals in the league at the minute and say what's value. CMC and Saquon are both on 2-year deals. So they've done 2-year deals with a lot of guaranteed, but that's obviously just 2 years. After that, you look back and the next deal started like the 15 million a year category type. There's just 2 unicorns on their own up there because they're small deals. We're not going to be doing a small deal with Jameer. I mean, you look at Taylor. Taylor got what, 3 for 42 with 19 guaranteed. Something on that level with obviously the bump up in whatever it is for Gibbs. Because I mean, what's that, 14 a year? You do 4 for 80 or whatever with him, but as long as it's sub 35 and guaranteed something like that, that's manageable. But
Mhm.
we've got to be careful when we're looking at these other top deals because they are just 2-year deals and that is it. And you can afford to really do that because it's not going to screw you in the long term. So they've got to be very careful with it. And if he starts going around saying he wants 60 million guaranteed, then I would look at shopping him as much as I would hate to do it. I think you can't be held here because we're in a very tricky predicament with all these deals and that now that we've got to come and that are on the books right now. He has to take a more friendly deal here. We'll give him the money so long as it's not guaranteed and we can resort it in a few years' time.
Right, let's move this on because it hasn't happened yet. And you know what? The hypotheticals are all well and good. And then when he signs 4 for 72, we'll laud the team as absolute geniuses and we'll move on. Some sad... No, actually, we're not going to say that. I normally do preamble, which I skipped over, but I haven't talked about the college football podcast. And you talked about the combine last week, and it is coming up. It started already, but the on-field workouts start this Thursday. Are you having another show this week?
Yeah, I only got through the offensive prospects. There are like 320 players there, so kind of underestimate how long it takes to do it. So
Well, you
we did.
couldn't do it all in one show.
No, I couldn't.
It's
So
malpractice.
no, exactly. I know it's terrible. So we did the offensive players last week, so we'll do the defensive players this week. So yes, there will be one.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Yeah, some sad news to kick us off with the news of Rondale Moore, the wide receiver, passing away at the age of 25 due to suicide, which is absolutely brutal. And boys, he is someone that we covered in the draft process. It's one of the first people I can remember where we actually had a good long look at him, and he was a dynamic receiver coming out of college. Always thought was maybe a little bit of a gadget player who couldn't survive on the outside in a wide receiver role. Came into the league pretty highly drafted, moderately successful. A few injuries which kind of followed him from college really hurt his career. Ended up on the Green Bay practice squad last year, and he took his own life. And then what's really harrowing is Hollywood Brown then tweeting, basically saying, "Same, bro. Like, I know how you feel. I'm so sorry this happened." And I think that highlighted a wider point, not just about Rondale, as sad as that is, but these players are human beings and they might be getting paid millions of dollars, but they suffer the same. And actually, professional sportsmen, we see it over here about the people who've retired and then really struggle. The mental strain on what these guys have to go through and the fact that it's quite a solitary existence weighs heavily on these guys.
Yeah. So you're saying about Hollywood, he also tweeted out, didn't he? Just he was literally can't be. I was texting you only a few hours ago. It's sad. It did shock me when I saw it because that's around my age. So yeah, that definitely hit home.
I think also it kind of puts into perspective what, because I know, and sometimes, I'm guilty of saying, the Lions when they stick with injury-prone players and they give them. It's why the Lions have tried really hard with their players and why they put such an emphasis on their players here. Because we remember the days before Dan and Brad were here when you had Tyrell, guys like that who were just grossly neglected with injuries and were not looked after properly, and they've made a big noise about it afterwards. And it's all around the league. Players are treated as commodities. They are commodities to people. You look at the draft process now, players are commodities to draft content people and stuff like that. They're just numbers. They're not a name, they're not a person, which is why I do a lot of personal things about players as well, see what they're like as that. You've got to treat them as such, and it's just again showing that they might make millions and they might be in the spotlight and you might think they're living the life of Larry and that, and they're not. Rondale's had serious injuries, really, these are life-altering injuries, some of them that he's had as well. They've not just been simple injuries, they've been really bad injuries, which are going to affect him when he gets older. And, injuries play with everyone. When your quality of life is affected, whether it's before, while you're playing the game, after the game, etc., it can get at you. People just think because they're rich and everyone's around them, they've never not got somebody with them. But it can be a very lonely place when you're doing stuff like that, and it just again goes to show it can happen to anybody, and it's another grim reminder. And as I said in Discord, it seems to happen more and more and more that you get stuff like this happening, and it's just another example to, say something. Don't, don't live in this bubble by yourself. There will be people out there who listen to you. There'll be people out there who want to support you. At the end of the day, you'd rather talk to somebody than read about them when the worst has happened. So, hopefully, if anything good comes out of it, it inspires someone to say something rather than do something like that. But it's horrible. Again, so young, way younger than way younger than me. No time yet. He's got plenty of time to go, and yeah, it's such a shame for him.
Yeah, and internalizing it a little bit and looking at the lines, you look at Kirby last year, and the man was clearly mentally suffering. And the thing is, he was putting it out there on social media for everyone to see. Like, he was actually really open about his struggle. He lashed out at people, he lashed out at God. And people were throwing shit at him for it. And it really makes you think, okay, you know what? You can be one of the reasons why this guy flips over the edge and then have to deal with the fact that a little bit of this is on your conscience. Or we can all just choose to be a little bit kinder. And, when someone is a human being who is struggling, to reach out. Because as much as it is, as Ant says, about when you're struggling, trying to contact someone and say, I'm not okay, but that is the hardest thing. Having been in a not dissimilar place to that in my life, the last thing I wanted to do is talk to anyone about it. The biggest thing that we can all do in our lives is see someone who's struggling and be that person who is not just reaching out saying, I'm here if you need me, which means shit. And we all know that does. It's not that it's an empty gesture. That person means it. But again, the last thing you want to do is accept help. Sometimes you need help forced upon you to be there for your guy or your girl. As friends. Like, say, I don't think you're okay. Let's talk. Don't give that person an option. I wish for my friend who had jumped off a bridge in London that I had got in touch with him before that happened. And you really can see when people are struggling. It's not. Some people hide it exceptionally well. Some people kind of don't, and we still don't make as much effort as we all could. So, like, if you do see someone struggling out there, go and intervene. Like, you won't know you're a lifesaver because hopefully they won't do anything because of what you did, and you won't know whether they were going to go to do something or not. But it's just being a good person and a good friend and being an exceptional. It takes an exceptional human being to do that. But more than speak up if you're struggling, but go and find those people. It's like, it's a similar argument to the thing about, like, stopping one of your bros if it looks like they're going to go and do something with a girl when she's not in the right place for it. And you're like, being a friend if you, like, intervene in those situations. Like, it takes a courageous person to step in front of something which they can see happening. And, I don't know, we all just need to be a little bit better, I think. Sorry, that was a bit of a monologue, but it's hard. Life's hard.
Yes.
Right, less of that. More about Lions news. And the shock news last week that Lions Chief Executive Officer Rod Wood is going to retire before the start of the 2026 NFL season. Of course, we're not there yet for another couple of weeks, so the door's still open for him to be in post for that time before the league season opens, before that technically is an incorrect statement. And boys, he's been doing the job for 12 years. I remember when I started doing this with you guys, and he was a bit of a figure of
ridicule.
Yeah, that's the word. Mainly headlined, I think, by how he dealt with the Calvin Johnson situation, which of course has been smoothed over now. Since we started doing this show, the 180 on where Rod Wood has been and what he has done for this organisation is quite pronounced. He has come out of this tenure smelling of roses, I think, in terms of how he transformed the stadium, what he did for the team, the fans, prioritising them, the renovation of the performance centre, getting the Maya sponsorship, And then, his first head coach hiring didn't go particularly well, but then he's on the board of people who hire this regime, head coach and GM, and that's been wildly successful. So football-wise, but also for the Ford family, it looks like he's done a terrific job, and he's still a relatively young man, all things considered when it comes to people in this sort of role. He deserves a lot of plaudits, I think, for turning around, because, I don't think many Lions fans could have thought less of him 5 or 6 years ago. This is a big shift, and he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, definitely. Like, case in point, that I was listening to Pro Detroit because they so magnanimously decided to record last night. So, we're not clashing with them potentially. But what Jeremy said, where Jeremy, Miko, and Ryan were saying that, the way he started it off with the whole, he's coming in and he admits he's not a football guy, which is him, I guess, trying to be honest and coming in knowing what his limitations. But then, as you said, the Calvin Johnson decision, I know it's under his remit and it doesn't seem like a big thing, but I know plans were crying out for a jersey redesign and he does it and you can't read the numbers and that. And the hiring Quinn and Patricia and all that went on. And yet he went on under his reign. He was seen as he's not a football guy. Why is he making all these decisions? But I think over time he learned his limitations. He brought in the right people. So when we fired Quinn Trisha, being on the board that helped hire Brad and Dan, but having football people on there, Spielman, having Barry consulting it, taking that step back and being like, okay, we need to get people who know the football side in here. I'll let them do that and I'll just focus on the business side, the promoting us in the international game. I think, if I remember rightly, we were one of the big teams pushing for the International Fan of the Year campaign, which I know our own Ryan Farden was the first winner of. We had the guy from Germany last year. Today it was announced it was a fan from Brazil who got surprised at the Pro Bowl with Hutch. We were one big one for that, sort of branching out into that, getting the Canada sponsorship there, the Germany, Switzerland, all these. He learned his limitations. He brought the right people in and he did the stuff that he does well. And he let the other people do the other stuff better than him. He let them do it. And now I think he's come to the time where he's realised, and maybe the regime as a whole has realised with what's happened with Disney in this off-season, him getting the interview for the whatever the role was in Atlanta that everyone knew was going to go to Matt Ryan, but he interviewed for it and he interviewed for their GM as well. And I think everyone realised, I think it's time to pass over the reins to Disney, where he could lead us into the next however years in that role, and he can grow into it. It's the time, and Rod can take that step back and go enjoy his vacations, go enjoy golfing. He'll still be around here while they conduct the search, even though I think everyone knows it's kind of just a search, just to cross the T's, dot the I's kind of thing before Disney gets it. He'll still probably be there at the owners' meeting, and I'm sure that Jeremy and whoever's down there will ask him questions about his decision. But I think he's going out on a high. He's going out kind of like Breaking Bad, where he knows his length is good. Let's not waste it by dragging it out any longer and potentially dragging its reputation down again.
And any thoughts on Rob Wood?
No, I couldn't really care less.
Fair.
It just is what it is. I know, he was no good at football stuff. They brought in people who were good at the football side of the business, and he could do what he was good at. That is what it is. So yeah, I don't really care. We're going to get someone in house. It's either going to be Spielman or Disney, isn't it? Which is probably going to be a lot better for us. So yeah.
Finally, the Lions have finally announced their coaching staff for 2026. This came out just hours ago. I'm going to read through the whole list and then what the changes are. Many thanks to Jeff Risdon for putting them in a format readable for all, rather than the Lions trying to do various lists, which kind of made it a bit more difficult, I think. Anyway, what? Why are you looking
I disagree. I preferred the way the Lions did it, grouping it by overall and then position, like sort of offense, defense, special teams, strength conditioning. But fair.
I prefer it in terms of seniority, up down. Anyway, so Dan Campbell head coach, Drew Petzing OC, Kelvin Shepherd DC, Dave Phipp special teams coordinator. We all knew that. Scotty Montgomery is associate head coach and wide receivers coach. Jim O'Neill is assistant head coach and safeties coach. Mark Brunel at quarterbacks, Trishard Choice at running backs, Caleb Collins as defensive assistant, David Corral is senior defensive assistant and outside linebackers coach, Hank Fraley run game coordinator and offensive line coach, Bruce Gradkowski assistant wide receivers coach, Sean Young Hamilton at linebackers, Mike Kafka pass game coordinator, August Mangin, defensive assistant, Justin Mesa, offensive quality control, Jet Modkins, assistant special teams coach, Steve Oliver, tight ends coach, Casey Rogers, run game coordinator and defensive line coach, David Shaw, pass game specialist, Dan Skipper, offensive assistant, Dre Thompson is the minority coaching assistant, Deshae Townsend, pass game coordinator, and his thing actually cuts all of this off, which is not actually great.
Ace DB coach.
Thank you. Mark's Toyo Sopso, hope that's right, offensive assistant, Josh Schuler, head strength and conditioning coach, Jill Costanza, assistant strength and conditioning coach, Cam Joss, assistant strength and conditioning coach, Thaddeus Jackson, assistant strength and conditioning coach, and Jesse Giambra, chief of staff and head coach administrator. So the differences there from what we knew. Jim O'Neill has therefore been promoted to the assistant head coach and safeties coach. He was a defensive assistant predominantly working on safeties. We knew he was this de facto safeties coach. He's now been given that a name, but a promotion to assistant head coach seems pretty heavy, actually. And they've invented a title for Scotty Montgomery, therefore. Scotty was the assistant head coach. That's been retitled to associate head coach and wide receivers coach. And it appears with the way that the Lions have put this on their official website that the associate almost implies sideways. So head coach approximate, like almost there. He's the associate of the head coach, whereas the assistant is like the helper, shall we say. So it is almost a promotion, I think, for both Scotty and for Jim, but it's a promotion that isn't really a promotion because Mike Kafka confirmed as pass game coordinator. David Shaw, who was a pass game coordinator, demoted to passing game specialist. Surprised he hasn't moved on, if I'm frank. Bruce Gradkowski was an offensive assistant. He's now the assistant wide receivers coach, potentially diversifying his roles to move him up the ladder. Skipper, we knew was going to be on the coaching staff. He is an offensive assistant, effectively the de facto offensive line coach, whilst also being able to help with the tight ends. No additions or changes on the defensive or special teams side, apart from the Jim O'Neill promotion. Potentially a sign of faith in Shep. There's no senior defensive assistant like Don Capers or John Fox that we have had in this regime. Ash, your thoughts overall on the changes and the bits that we didn't know?
So, yeah, I'll start with the obvious one, and it is the last bit because anyone who listens to this podcast and follows me on X/Twitter knows that I have been calling for a senior defensive assistant like Don Capers and a John Fox to be added to the staff. Because, yes, I know we have experience in our other coaching positions on the defensive side of the staff. So Jim O'Neill, who's been a defensive coordinator before, has been around a long time. Casey Rogers, also the same, been around a long time, being a defense coordinator. Even David Corral, who's the defensive assistant who works with the outside linebackers. So if you don't like Derek Barnes, he's the guy you look at to blame. He's also been around for donkey's years. But they were here last year and we still had some of those struggles on the defense, just into the lack of personnel on the back end, some of the game plans. I know we blew it out of the park with Baltimore, but the Kansas City game plan where going into it, everyone knew that Mahomes tears up zone coverage, and yet we played so much of it. It was outstanding in the worst way. So I've been calling for that. But I can see people's argument to sign and faith in Shep, let him work it out. And because Dan's now suddenly not taking over play calling again, he should be able to sit in more in those meetings and we'll have everyone back healthy. But it just feels like if similar struggles happen this year, let's say we have linebackers injuries like we did a couple of years ago, and we kind of just, people will be pointing fingers like, well, this happened 2 years in a row now. Why didn't you stop this the first time and get someone in to help? So that did surprise me a bit, but at the same time, it didn't. Everything else was kind of to be expected. We knew that we needed an assistant wide receivers coach, and with the attention that Gradkowski's getting, both in the UFL and in some of the college ranks as well, I believe, it makes sense for him to diversify his role, learn what the wide receivers do, because, of course, he's a former quarterback we're talking about. in a similar way that we've done with Seth Ryan before, where he was assistant wide receiver coach, then we moved him to assistant tight ends coach, and now he's in New York as their passing game coordinator. That makes sense, as does the skip thing. Everyone kind of knew he's going to be offensive line coach, assistant, but obviously with his work at the East West Shrine Bowl, he also worked with the tight ends there, and he does that sort of tight end thing for us, doesn't he? So that makes sense. Kafka we knew, and then the Jim O'Neill was a bit of a shock, but as I put on the notes, it might have been the sweetener that kept him around, because people might remember he did interview for the Jets defensive coordinator job. So maybe we kind of kept him around by saying, well, you can take the job if you want, but if you stay here, we'll promote you to assistant head coach. We'll try and get you these bigger roles if you stick around, and maybe you can push to be something. And so we kept him around, and that promotion also probably comes with a bit of pay. And then to keep Scotty happy, we're like, right, you'll become the associate. So it's a kind of sideways, slightly upwards promotion, while still being our wide receiver coach. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like everything else, pretty much the same as said. Like we've got our offensive line coach, run game pointer still, running back coach same, defensive side of the ball pretty much the same, special teams the same. There's a few changes on strength and conditioning, but that's something that I don't really know much about, because, look at me. Do I look like I know what strength and conditioning is? So there's been a couple of changes there, probably to do with the injuries and that, just to, keep people happy. And also it's one of those kind of like kickers most of the time where there's a load of changes anyway. So if people wanted to move on to better roles or other roles close to home or whatever, you let them. So for the most part, nothing shocking, just, Jim O'Neill, massive promotion in a way, and the no defensive senior assistant, but that's just me because I wanted one.
And any thoughts? I mean, Kafka was the big question mark. I guess pass game coordinator doesn't feel like the senior offensive position that we were potentially promised for him.
I don't know. For those who do like this sort of stuff, when one of your biggest takeaways from this is you're trying to argue the difference between associate and assistant, then that kind of tells you about the level of these moves. There's nothing earth-shattering here. There's nothing that's going to, move the needle per se. Obviously, Kafka with the passing game stuff, that makes sense. You've got a very good offensive staff here now for next year, and if you lose somebody, someone goes, and you've got inbuilt replacements pretty much right away. And, testament to him that he thinks he probably could have got a better role somewhere else, but obviously he believes in the process here. Knows he'll likely get a promotion out of it because Lions send staff all over the NFL now. So, good for him, and it's good there. But yeah, outside of that, again, there's just nothing that moves the needles. I don't, just not my thing.
There. Let's move it on then, and we are going to get into the tackle class for the 2026 NFL Draft, and you are first up with someone who may be slightly off the radar if you've only seen the top 4 or 5 guys in the consensus board in the tackle class.
Yeah, so I think after last week I did 3 very random prospects out in day 3. Thought we'd choose some guys a little higher up the echelon this week. I got a day 1 guy and a day 2 guy, and this is going to be my day 2 guy, but we've got Caleb Tiernan first up. He is the left tackle from the Northwestern Wildcats. He's 6'7", 325 pounds, and he is 23 years old. Born in Livonia, Michigan, 4-star recruit out of Detroit Country Day. So, nice little perk here. If they so wish to, he is eligible for the Lions local pro day once the combine is done. Turned down offers from Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State to go to Northwestern. They were literally his final 4, where he decided he was going to go. 43 career starts, 2,437 snaps at left tackle. He's been the starter there for the last 3 years. 502 snaps at right tackle. That was where he played in his redshirt freshman year. Obviously, learned behind Peter Skoronski initially in his days there, the Tennessee Titans left guard, before taking over his spot for the last 3. And he's looking to continue this lineage that's coming out of Northwestern in recent years that goes back to Rashawn Slater. He's looking to be the 3rd high draft pick in a row. Obviously, the 2 guys went first and foremost before him in the first round. But where we start here with him, the philosophy of his philosophy, the loyalty, and the leadership. Now, as I always say, I always start with the person. These are guys who I invest a lot of time in over a lot of years. And you've got to make sure you've got the right person in the building first and foremost. Did not take the easy road when choosing his home, as I mentioned, amongst a sleuth of offers from bigger teams in his region of the country, some of the biggest. He made his choice based on academia as much as football. For those who don't know, Northwestern is one of the top academic universities in the US. So I always like a guy who puts his academic achievements on par with his football. But he wanted to fight for earlier playing time as well, rather than risk getting buried on like a Michigan or Ohio State depth chart for 3 years, which I can completely get behind. Then having made that choice to go to Northwestern, he has showed the right attitude. He has showed unwavering loyalty towards this Wildcat program. He's been there for 5 years, and you don't see that in this modern NIL age. Only played 5 snaps in his true freshman year. He didn't throw his dummy out the pram and transfer. He took the opportunity to sit and learn. Again, behind Skoronski, he waited his turn. Halfway through the second year, really rough season for Northwestern. They went 1-11. He got his chance at right tackle. He never gave back that spot and impressed the coaches enough to convince them that he was the future at left tackle. And then the move, let's say, to left tackle came in year 3, and it comes with a huge amount of pressure for him. You're following in the footsteps of 2 successive first-round NFL draft picks who've set an incredibly high bar of performance at the program. And before that season started, that was when Pat Fitzgerald got fired. You had the infamous hazing scandal, which completely rocked that program to the core. And obviously, when coaches are fired, the transfer window opens up again. He could have transferred away from the chaos, tried to find a more stable home. Other Northwestern starters did leave in that portal, but once again, he committed to the program and to David Brown, who came in. It was a complete rebuild from the bottom up. And after giving up a sack in week 1 against Rutgers, his first ever start at left tackle, he didn't give up another one for the entire season. And bear in mind, you're playing in the Big Ten when you are playing against NFL level caliber talent every single week. Slotted in perfectly on the blind side. Northwestern won an improbable 8 games that year. I remember it very well. We thought they were going to win 1 or 2 games. But, him and noticeable others came in and just really gave that team a boost. And he's held on to that left tackle spot ever since. He's resisted every attempt to be lured away from the program in this new NIL era. He's had offers, a lot of money thrown his way to leave the program, which again shows the loyalty to the team he's committed to. And I like that as a plus point in my prospects. If you're not going to be taken for money, I prefer someone who's going to stay at a program, even when it's a tough program to be at. Shows a lot about their character. And then the last 2 years is where like the leadership part of him has really blossomed, and what I love for him coming to the next level. He's been an integral part of this post-Fitzgerald rebuild of the Wildcats. He was made a team captain in 2025. Lions love their team captains. And O-line don't often get that nod at Northwestern. There are not too many O-linemen who get the captain, so it kind of just goes to show it was a big deal when he was given it. He's literally the first guy in, last guy out, was confirmed by his coaches. Most players, when asked about in that program who sets the standard on that team, Tiernan is the answer. And to kind of highlight his importance to this side, when they played Minnesota this year, it was the first time this century that the team had a 300-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher, and 200-yard receivers. Very good offensive performance from them. And when asked about it afterwards, David Brown's response was, it speaks to not only the culture of the football program, but specifically that offensive line room. And it all starts with our captain, Caleb Tiernan. He had all those skill players racking up those yards to talk about. But when praising the offense and how it went about its business, Caleb Tiernan was the first port of call, which shows you a guy who has helped change the culture as a leader and as a teammate, that everybody talks about him first. And so he sets the standard here. He sets the standard for that offensive line as well. No more so was than that apparent in 2025. The O-line there had 3 new starters. Orotakai, the left guard, was a redshirt freshman starting for the first time. The right guard, Evan Bernstein, was an FCS transfer. The right tackle, Martez Lewis, was a Minnesota transfer who'd not started in 2 years. The center, Jackson Carcello, had only played 1 year there as a starter. So between the 4 other guys on that offensive line, they have 1 year of starting experience at Northwestern. They finished 2025 ranked 9th in the nation in pass blocking. They were 3rd in the Big Ten and 17th in the nation in run blocking. That's top 20 units in both facets of the game. That's the standard that him as the leader on that offensive line has set now that he leaves the program. And that kind of legacy that he was trying to carry on from Slater and from Skoronsky, he's done. And that's a big deal when looking at the personality of a player. And to finish it even off, he went to the team's bowl game this year, played in it, even though the team tried to limit his workload for the draft. He set the standard as a leader that every single game matters, and in doing so, he's ensured this burgeoning legacy of left tackles in Evanston is going to go on at least another player longer. And given everything he's been through at that program in college, it's a testament to just how strong-willed a player and leader he is. So if you're looking for personality and leadership red flags in him, there's none to be found. He ticks every box that you want there. In terms of the breakdown on him, he is Mr. Durability. He has barely missed a snap in his 5 years in Evanston. 40 plus career starts, 38 consecutive career starts to end his collegiate career. 3,000 college snaps is a testament to that, especially in a conference as physical as the Big Ten. There are zero medical red flags, no nagging injury histories that a lot of his competitors are dealing with in this draft. In terms of the personality, the leadership, the medicals, absolutely nothing whatsoever. In terms of a player, he's a Northwestern left tackle, and for those who know college football, you know what I mean here. They have a type. On the surface, they do lack some particular elite measurables, and they nearly always have shorter arms. I don't know how they do it, but they do. But what they do possesses some of the best fundamentals and techniques of all tackle prospects in the draft that they go into, and it's tried and tested in the NFL. He is an elite pass protector. He spent 3.5 years playing against some of the best in the edge room. Plenty of guys who are in the NFL now. He surrendered 9 sacks in his career. May sound like a lot, but against the level of competition, it's very commendable. And if you watch him play, especially in the Big Ten, there are a lot of wins, there are a lot of losses. You may give up some of these sack stats and that, but you watch these guys grow because they're in such immense level of competition. Illinois were the only Big Ten team who registered a sack against him in the Big Ten this year, and they ran a gauntlet. They played Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, Illinois, Minnesota, all who have draft eligible high-level edges on there. But in terms of how he does it, he uses every bit of this 6'7", 325-pound frame to dominate power rushers. It's nigh on impossible to bull rush him because he works with a very strong anchor. The footwork is really good. Comes from a basketball background that he has from his high school days. Against speed rushers, he's got this really great power punch that he does on his get off the line of scrimmage to get them off balance. And then he's got this really fluid kick step that allows him to get into position, establish contact first, which negates that reach disadvantage he has comparative to his frame. And the hand fighting second to none. Once he gets his hands on you, it's nigh on impossible for edges to use counters on him because he just gets such a grip. He's got upper body strength for days, and it's really tough to get him off you. His high IQ as well, which is another Northwestern trait in their tackles, was a high school edge, so good understanding of the position he's up against. You see the eyes, they're active. He's got a good understanding of where the pocket is around him. Dual blocks and combo blocks very well executed. Doesn't ever lose sight of his assignment or give up free blitzers from forgetting where his assignment is. And he also, as I say, carries that positional versatility. Having played right tackle to start his career, he's played at left tackle. He can play the swing role if need be. And, you know, the tape I watched on him was when they played Oregon this year. Oregon, who have Mateo Uangalele, Tatum Tiote. Very good defensive line. And you can just see example in this game of how he does well with the double teams, taking off the edge, getting to the second level on the linebackers. He's strong. Pancakes several guys in this one. Good getting out to the perimeter with his blocking because pressure comes on the quarterback quite quick, so there's a lot of quick throws out. You see, as I say, the second level blocking, the perimeter blocking is really good. And its ability to recover as well. For the most part, he keeps Mateo Uangalele just under wraps. Mateo keeps trying to bull rush him. He gets his hands on him. He moves him nowhere. But even when Mateo does pull out, like he pulls out a filthy spin move on him to the inside on one play, which completely loses Tiernan's grip on him. But then he just has this quick slide step back, which is one step back, gets his hands under Mateo's pads again, and was able to lever him round the quarterback. It's a really good spin move, but his reactability to it was just tremendous. And this is a guy who will next year be drafted pretty highly. So you just see a lot of good in there for him. And as I say, it's all technique, it's all polish, it's what I love in my tackles. Now, in terms of issues that we have with him, because I've been very nice about him so far, the athleticism potentially may be an issue. We're going to find this out during Combine Week, but like his predecessors, Tiernan has issues when it comes to elite measurables. So in Slater and Skoronski's case, it was their size. They were both 6'4" with smaller arms, but they were both unbelievably athletic, which mitigated a lot of the issues that came with that and has led to both of them having success in the league. Tiernan has the NFL frame that they didn't, but he might not possess the level of athletic ability that his predecessors did. And obviously, being taller with shorter arms comes with its own problems. It sometimes shows when you look at his second level work, it can be a bit clunky and ill executed, occasionally late, just because, the elite athletic ability isn't there, which is with the next guy I'll talk about. But it is exacerbated a bit on tape. Northwestern do use more of a spread offense in recent years, which means the linemen don't do a lot of complex multi-level run blocking. So that part of the game for me, it's not fully developed yet, and it's something he's going to need to work on. Like I say, the recovery skills and the get-off speeds over short areas are no issue. So the athletic ability doesn't really matter there. It's just for the perimeter second level blocking stuff, especially with what Detroit loves to do. But there are glimpses of him on tape where he can execute well in that aspect. So I think it's just more a work in progress for him in a scheme that will demand it more of him. But he is going to need to show a higher athletic ability to convince teams that it can be worked on. So you will look for this at the combine. The arms are always going to be the issue, same as the two who came before him. And that combine measurement's going to be big. It's one of the things you will look out for. I mean, if this wingspan is a bit bigger, we're talking first round pick here. But again, he's coming from a tree which has dispelled that. The Northwestern tree, they're 1-for-1 on their left tackles, translating to the NFL as a tackle right now. Slater made it, Skoronski didn't, but both of them are starters in the league and they're high-level starters in the league. So it doesn't matter where he kind of ends up. You know that how they're trained is going to give them a shot of making it. And, he's no different to me. And the arms lead to the final thing. It's the consistency of the run blocking. Again, when you're tall, your arms are shorter, you're susceptible to pad level issues, which does show up on his tape from time to time. Again, for the most part, once he gets his hands on people, the rep is over. And I believe this elite technical work he has will mitigate these issues in the long run when he's taught at the NFL level, when he gets up to speed with the game. I think he's going to be just fine, but it's something teams will look at over the combine when obviously deciding where he's going to be at the next level. So overall, I've always trusted this tree and this coaching when it comes to producing guys who are avant-garde at the left tackle position. And I believe there's no different. For me, he is one of the most polished technicians you will find, especially in pass protection, more so than a lot of guys who are going to go in round one just because they've got elite athletic tools. He offers a very high floor as a player for me, even if his future is at guard, which I don't think it will be. I think he can make it at tackle. The versatility makes him a tantalizing option as a potentially early high swing tackle option before settling into one side of the line as time goes on in his career. But the versatility is certainly appealing. And as I've mentioned, he ticks every single box when it comes to personality, leadership, and durability. He's one of those. He doesn't have the loudest voice in the room, but he's got a very commanding presence. And you watch the work he's done in his collegiate career. He's really set the culture of a team as well as redefined the standards of it whilst growing as a player. For me, if there's one person who can fight against popular opinion and fight his way into a starting left tackle spot in the NFL, he's the one. And I pick him every time. I can deal with the issues that he has because I think they can be managed. I'd take him at 49 and be a very happy guy. And just to finish this off, there's a very fun fact here, which I wanted to put in. His last game in high school, he won the Division 4 state championship for Detroit County Day against Kodiak, which was held at Ford Field in Detroit. His last game in college football was winning the game above Sports Bowl for Northwestern against Central Michigan, which was held at Ford Field in Detroit. So I asked the hypothetical question. I wonder where his last game in the NFL might be and whom it might be for. Who knows? But yeah, that is Caleb Tiernan. Again, for me, going to be like his predecessors, someone who gets a lot of flack when he probably shouldn't, and he will make someone very happy in the NFL next year.
Any thoughts on Caleb Tiernan?
I've seen a bit of him, and I really like what I've seen, which is why I know one of the big debates right now is where POD got asked about it in the midweek bag last week. He is one of the reasons why I would be okay taking an edge in the first round, because the possibility of getting, let's say, TJ Parker in the first and then coming around and getting Caleb Tiernan in the second, that fills two big holes on our squad, and we get good players in both that can start. Like, he is a really good tackle. Well, yeah, he's probably not at the level of, say, some of the other guys we're going to discuss today. He is still good enough to potentially slide into Decker's spot day one. And yeah, there'll be some growing pains because there always is coming into the league. But he could start his floor, at least potentially, if it goes right, is that sort of Taylor, sort of Decker average starting tackle, which, considering the beasts we got across the rest of the line, that might be all we need. So I'll be very happy if he is the pick in the second round for us.
Right. Next up is you, Ash, for your first guy, who is another one who is potentially slightly unfancied right now, but is getting a little bit of love and is starting to rise up some boards. He was recently featured on the Daily DLP with Jeff Risdon.
Yeah, he was. And he was also one of the two guys that, when it was Darryl Jeremiah was asked about the Lions tackle need on the big call he does with the media people, there was one guy who was mentioned who, well, buried the lead for that later. I'm going to mention him later. But the other guy was Blake Miller, the Clemson right tackle, wears number 78, which is quite nice in his spot. He's 6'6", 315 pounds, and a 21-year-old senior. He has spent all 4 of his years in college at Clemson. In fact, he was the 4th true freshman on their offensive line to start for Clemson since 1972, and the 3rd true freshman to start all 14 games for them anywhere on the team since 1944. He was the 23rd best offensive tackle in his class, according to 247 Sports, and he committed to Clemson over other schools like Ohio State. So, he's got a bit of that hate in him already. And in high school, he was a two-way starter as a lineman at 14 years old. Was named all district, all region, and all state in his junior and senior years at high school as an offensive lineman. And in those 2 years, he did not allow a single sack. So this is a guy who's got some real good pedigree on the offensive line. In his sophomore season at Clemson, he was named 3rd team all ACC, and in his junior and senior seasons, he was 1st team. And he's currently, according to Jeremy, as of yesterday when they recorded the POD, currently the top guy on the grit index that Eric Schlitt and Anthony Between the Numbers work on every year, looking at the kind of character stuff the Lions like, etc., etc. This past season, according to PFF, he got a 78.5 offensive grade, which is broken up by an 83.5 pass blocking grade and a 73.3 run blocking grade. He allowed 14 pressures, 2 sacks, 2 hits, and 10 hurries, and had a 98.4% pass blocking efficiency. He also conceded 5 penalties and a further one, which was not accepted or negated. He played 875 offensive snaps. 858 of these were at right tackle, and the rest were spread between trick play alignments. 529 of those snaps were in pass blocking situations, the other 346 were run blocking situations. He also played 72 special team snaps. 62 of them were in the field goal kicking unit. The other 10, punt coverage. 65.9 special teams grade. The game I watched for him was the week 1 game of this past season against LSU, where he had a 66.7 offensive grade, 74.4 pass blocking, 68.5 run blocking, played 58 snaps, 43 pass blocking, 15 run blocking. He gave 1 hit, 1 hurry, and conceded 1 penalty, and had a 97.7% pass blocking efficiency. So it was a pretty good game for him. Like, nothing really major, like good or bad for him. So the first couple of snaps, he initially slides inside to double team an edge, but then he's quick to react to a blitzing linebacker who loops around it, around the edge to sort of try and get a free angle. It happened a couple of times in the game. For the most part, he dealt with it well. There was one really bad rep where he just allows it to happen, but I think that's just because the way the play call was, he just wasn't asked to do that, and so it just come through, and the linebacker gets a clear way to the QB for a sack. For the most part, really good pass blocking on him. He does have a okayish anchor, and some of the reps, it does appear that he was coached to catch block. So this is something that's been coming up again on Riz's DLPs, where something that Alabama tackles do a lot as well, where instead of doing what the Lions usually like to do, so I guess most people like to do, where see guy, go get guy, instead he takes that step back and allows the edge rushers to dictate terms to him. And sometimes when that happens, he does give up some ground to them because he does have a bit of a not weakness, but a lack of lower body strength, shall we say. Top half is a bit stronger than his bottom half. But for the most part, as I say, really good pass blocking, can deal with stunts as well. So there was a time where he has to go with a TE stunt, so tackle, defensive tackle loops out right side of the edge goes inside to the guard. He deals with that, though when it was the other way around, the edge went first and then the tackle came, he was beaten by that. So while not being perfect, for the most part, he can deal with those. And sometimes as well, he can overset in his pass blocking reps, so he can lean forward a bit, which does give the rusher a bit of like extra leverage to get him to the ground. I think he was put to the floor twice in the game, which isn't perfect, but it's just a technique thing, I think, that could be worked on. Heading it, but looking at his run blocking as well, for them, again, really good to the first part. So the second snap of the game, he does climb to the second level, but he just misses this guy, which leads to a run stop. But again, really good run blocking for him as well. There was a time where there was an RPO in the first quarter, and he sells it really well, drives inside and flushes the pretty much entire defensive line, goes with the offensive line, and it opens up this naked boot for the Nussmeier to then come out and then pass the ball on the fly. He also did have a sort of semi-mare run rep where he did let the edge beat him, but the run was designed to go the other way. So he's doing just enough to seal off the backside before then letting go so he doesn't get a holding call. But from the second quarter onwards, he just settled into the game in terms of run blocking. It was an absolute mauler. Just keeps on blocking both in zone and gap really well. Didn't really lose too much in the run game after that. The worst rep he had was in the fourth quarter, where he just doesn't block anyone. It's obviously been taught in the play. It's catch blocking. There's no one there, but instead of looking for work, he just stands there and looks around like, is someone going to come and attack me? And so he gives up a sack, because by the time he finds work, someone's already got to Nussmeier and it's a sack. So again, it's the catch blocking. Maybe it's just something that's what he's been taught to do on that play. It's something that we will not do as much here. So hopefully, if he does come to us, it is one of them where, right, that's your guy, go block him, drive, like, do whatever you need to do, rather than let him dictate terms. So again, that's something just might have been the play call. In terms of by comparison for him, might be a bit of a high one considering local stuff and how he's turned out. But Luka Deke, so a decent right tackle who, against type, is actually more of a better pass blocker than he is run blocker, which is something I find with Blake Miller as well. So for Gadecki, his pass blocking grade has actually been better than his run blocking grade of each of his past 3 seasons. If Miller does come to the Lions, he was slotted as starter day one at right tackle for moving Penne to the left side of the line, which we know we can do about getting the best 5 out there. It all would also mean we potentially move towards this new trend, what's coming back around, of which college it is, but instead of having a left and a right tackle, you have a quicker to strong tackle. that could also work with Miller, where Miller is the more quick tackle. Pele, of course, is the strong tackle, and you can use it matchup-wise on that because while Miller has only played right tackle at college, he does have the traits to potentially fit into the kind of play style we like in our left tackles, more of a technical pass blocker, but still can do stuff in the run game. It's also very Taylor Decker-y. So he's currently ranked as the 6th offensive tackle and 37th overall prospect on MockDraft database, which puts him as a high second-round pick. I would have him ranked around that range, if not slightly above, as a fringe first-rounder, because while he's not really a standout in either pass blocking or run blocking, he doesn't have that big, defining trait that I usually look for in my first-round pick. So Penne was his mauling run blocking style. Aidan Hutchinson, motor, JMO speed, Gibbs speed, that kind of thing. He's just a quietly consistent tackle who's likely in for a long career as that Taylor Decker-esque level starter in the league where he's never going to be, top 4 in his position, but he's never going to be worse than top 20 in his position. If we were to take him at 17, which is on the cards, according to some people, no, Riz would like it. Jeremiah mentioned it, as I mentioned before. I would be whelmed kind of the same way that if we took the Keldrick Fork, because he would be a start for us throughout his rookie contract and beyond, barring injuries. But his ceiling compared to other prospects who might be available at that point is much lower just because he, again, doesn't have that standout trait to really hang his hat on. So I really liked him. I know Riz got me onto him with his DLPs. Finally watched him, was like, I can see it. As much as I hate Clemson, I'll allow it just this once.
Any thoughts on Caleb Tennant, sorry. On Blake Miller?
I can do that again, but it'll take a while. So
sorry.
Yeah, I like him as a prospect. I am not in this conversation at 17 about him. I don't know where it's really coming from at this moment in time. I think he potentially could fit what we do here, but I think there's a lot of work to do with his game before you get there, and I don't know if it's too much development for spending at the number 17 pick. It's odd as well because it's coming from a school where their offensive linemen I don't know how to grade. Clemson have not sent an offensive lineman who's any good to the draft this century. So which is weird for a program their size. But he has booked a lot of trends there. I know when I did some work on him last year, he was like the first guy, he was like the first Clemson offensive lineman in 80 years to not use a red shirt at all in his time there. He's just played since day one as a true freshman. And, those things, working as a true freshman on the offensive line is rare at either tackle position, which means, they have a lot of inherent talent to them and the ability is there. And I think he's a very good player, but there's too much polish. I need a starting tackle at 17 who can plug and play day one and you can kind of work around what you do with him. I don't put him in that category. So, 17 is way too rich for me. I just hope it's one of those that we stay away from there. He won't be knocking at 49, but if you trade back, if you start getting other picks, stuff like that, then he comes into the conversation then.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move it on to my first guy, and it's the first of the Utah tackles. Tonight, the slightly lower regarded one, the left tackle, Caleb Lomu. So Caleb, he is a redshirt sophomore. He's 24 years old as of last month, so an older prospect with a limited amount of reps. He is the Utah number 71, a verified 6055, 308 pounds with almost 34-inch arms, a PFF grade of 68.4 this year, but that masks a dip in run blocking grade to 62 and an increase in the pass blocking grade to 82.1. He had no sacks allowed this year and only allowed 8 pressures in 823 snaps overall. He's played 1,582 snaps at left tackle in his college career. So when you compare that to the guy that Ant profiled a couple of players ago, where he's played 4 starting seasons and his 3,500 snaps, and Lomu at 24 has only had just a shade under 1,600. This is a guy who's a bit of an older prospect and who has not maybe got the reps under his belt that you'd hope for someone of that age. In terms of awards, in 2025 he was a finalist for the Polynesian College Football Player of the Year. He was also a first-team All-Big 12 player, and then in 2024, he was the first-team academic All-Big 12 team. So a smart cookie, and someone who has, at least pass-blocking-wise, been exceptional this season. I profiled him by looking at a couple of games from this season, most notably against Texas Tech, where he again went up against NFL prospects in David Bailey and Romello Height. And then I also watched the game against West Virginia. In either game against Texas Tech, 51.9 PFF grade, 3 pressures, 2 hurries, 1 hit. And then against West Virginia, 1 pressure, 1 hurry, no sacks. No sacks allowed, of course, in that year. Overall, just as a kind of high-level thing, this is a guy who is exceptionally athletic. For a tackle, he's going to have numbers which pop off the chart. He is super explosive for this position. That is where the positivity on Lomu is going to end for me. At his weight, which is 308 pounds, he's a very, very light tackle. And I don't know whether it's because he's a light tackle or whether he lacks aggression, but the run blocking being so low really shows up on tape. He explodes out of his blocks, but sometimes he doesn't get to his assignments. He doesn't maul people. He doesn't convert his speed to power in the same way that a really twitchy edge rusher can. If he gets to his mark, is kind of content to sit there and just be content to be in the way. He doesn't maul people. And it's quite upsetting to watch, because if you have a look at how he gets away off the line, it's really special. And they ask him to do lots of stuff with that, so he's asked to pull a lot off the line. He's very much someone who is going to come from left tackle all the way and try and seal things off on the right-hand side, which is something the Lions really love to do. He also is called upon to get out there and block on screens, to try and beat the edge to get up to the second level and seal off a linebacker. All stuff which you know the Lions really, really want to see in a tackle. But the problem is, he's fucking sloppy, and it's really, really annoying. I'll go on and say that his hand placement and his feet in run blocking are just not particularly good. And considering he's only had 1,600 snaps, that's not that surprising. I think in terms of run blocking, he's good enough without being great. And that's at the college level when he's an older prospect. What is it going to be like coming up against the NFL level players where they're going to beat his ass day in and day out? Like, you come up against these really kind of can-crushing guys, if you come up against these sort of 280-pound defensive tackles who really get into him, how's he going to hold up? In terms of pass blocking, he's a technician. He's actually really, really very good. Where in run blocking his hand placement and his feet are not great, he's really impressive as a pass blocker. He's got an exceptionally swift kick out. He's patient in some ways that Ash was talking about with Blake Miller. He also kind of lets things come to him a little bit, which I know the Lions won't like, but he's patient. He times his punches really well, can absorb a fair amount of contact, although, like I say, when he comes up against some of the bigger guys in the NFL, I'm not sure how he's going to handle that, because I just haven't seen enough yet of him going up against, like, super powerful college talent, unless it was the game against Texas Tech, where he suffered a little bit. Overall, I think Lomu's ceiling could be really high. Could be. Because he's got, like, the physical tools. But the problem is, You're talking about a guy that you wish was 20 years old, but he's 24. And that's not great. Like, by the time he reaches the end of his rookie season, where if you draft him as the Lions and Decker plays next year, he's not a starter. And so maybe the first time he starts for the Lions, he's 25 and a half years old. By the time he gets to the end of that first contract, he's going to be almost hitting 30. And this is a guy where you have to do a lot of work to get him to be the guy that you hope you're drafting. The Lions hang their hat on run blocking, on really kind of, that being their identity. And while Lomu won't be a liability, against NFL talent who are going to challenge him on strength, I wonder whether he's going to hold up. And if you combat that by doing what a lot of draft people are saying, which is to put 20 pounds on this guy, maybe a little bit more, and his frame can probably take it, do you take away the thing that's special about him, which is that he's exceptionally twitchy? I worry about this prospect, because the pass blocking is so good, and the run blocking is so-so, so in some ways the easiest comp is Taylor Decker, who was never really a mauler, but was a technician at left tackle and allowed that blind side to be really well protected. But Decker was such a special talent, and went quite low, really, considering how much of a talent he was. Lomu ain't the same cat. I just have reservations having watching him. There's a real lack of aggression, and that's all well and good, but we are a gritty team that loves burying people, and I'm just not sure, therefore, he's going to be a fit for us, boys. And any thoughts on Caleb Lomu? I know you're quite high on both Utah tackles.
Yeah, he's only been a starter for 2 years. I see a lot of the problems he has, and it's just a kind of lack of reps that you've got at the position, but he's got unbelievably good upside. Both of them are technically about as sound as you will find. Like, he's got the technique. He does have the athletic ability to do, to survive in the NFL. And again, I think it's just a bit of rawness that affects him. Because I mean, he's only been in college 3 years as well. It's not like he's a redshirt, senior or something like that. He was quite old when he came out of high school, so he's still young relatively in his collegiate career and has a lot of issues that a lot of other third years do. Like I say, they're just not fully polished at the time. It is annoying for him with him being been a lot older than his running mate who's coming up as well. But I think there's a lot to like about him, but you are developing it. You don't really want to, like you say, draft him as a starter day one. You want to draft him as someone you can work into the team and gradually be your starter long term. I think by the time you get to year two with him, you'd start him. I think maybe at worst you could get him in at the end of year one to do, but he's got all the tools and traits he needs. I know that much. So it just requires the right team to get a hold of him, and they will make a good player out of him in the NFL. I know he deserves his round one hype. Maybe not as high in round one as he does, but I can certainly see why teams would be very interested in him. But yeah, he's gonna take a lot of sorting out first to get to there. But one of his advantages over a lot of the other guys in here is he's played the blind side. A lot of these other guys have never played a blind side before, which is a massive knock for them. He at least has the ability to say that he's played at left tackle. It's also harder for him as well. So, he's had to deal with the harder position, which a lot of his buddies at the top haven't. So, it gives him an advantage as well. But yeah, he requires a lot of development.
I should say, because I didn't say it at the end, that I had Lomu ranked as a 76, and 80 is that low one, high two. So 76 for me, he is a mid to high second round pick in terms of grade. Of course, when you compile the big board, and everyone knows it right now, people are saying that, people have between like 12 and 15 first round grades. With that grade, I fully expect him to be somewhere in my kind of late 20s and early 30s on the board when it's all said and done. Ash, any thoughts on Caleb Lomu?
Not too many. As I say, I haven't really gone back to him. I've watched a couple of Utah games, but not specifically looking. But only thought to add is, the reason that Deco went so low is because he got absolutely abused by Khalil Mack in the Buffalo Ohio State game, and that ruined his draft stock. So, plus actually, Deco was a right tackle at Ohio State, and let's switch to left with us, so maybe it's possible. But yeah, I'll have to go back and watch him, but I probably agree because some of the stuff you're saying does track with what I've heard from other people. So it's something to bear in mind, I guess. It's the best way to put it.
All right, and time for your second one. And we are sticking in Utah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really do much work on this kid because I was always under the impression that we were never gonna be positioned in a draft to get him.
Could trade
but-
up. Could trade up.
Well, yeah, but consensus is working against him now, and I'll talk about that later as a wider issue with scouting. But yeah, of course, we're talking about Spencer Fano, the other tackle out of Utah, the right tackle, and a kid who I've loved again for years. A lot of people have. So yeah, he's the right tackle from the Utah Utes. He is 6'6", 308 pounds. He is just 21 years old. He's a junior. He's only been in college for 3 years. He is declaring early, and he's ready for the NFL. Born in Provo, Utah, went to high school at Timpview in Provo, Utah, and played his entire college career in Salt Lake City, Utah. He is basically Mr. Utah. He was a majorly hyped high school prospect. He was a high four-star offensive tackle. He was and still is, I believe, the highest rated offensive tackle high school recruit in the history of the state of Utah. The battle for his signature was intense. Oregon were in for him, Michigan were, Clemson were, BYU, his hometown team, put in a monumental effort to get him to commit. But in the end, he chose the other side of the Holy War trenches, and he committed to Utah as their highest rated offensive tackle recruit in Utes history, although that is a record he no longer holds. The imminent arrival of Kelvin Obbott this summer, who is the highest rated recruit in the history of Utah, full stop. He's a high five-star, and they reckon he's going to be better than Fanu and Lomu, which is crazy, but I digress. Anywho, he proved worthy of the hype. 3 years later, he's played 37 games for Utah with 35 starts, starting in 2023 as just one of two true freshmen in the entire nation who nailed down a starting left tackle spot for the first game and kept them for the entire season. And what was more incredible is it was a position he had never played before. He was a right tackle in high school for his entire career there. And yeah, first snap he played in college football, he took over that left tackle position. And it is not easy to get that position from Kyle Whittingham. He puts a lot of emphasis on his offensive line. It takes a lot of trust. A lot of Utah guys have to wait their turn, like Caleb Lomu did. He had to wait till year 2, and Lomu was the second highest rated offensive tackle coming in Utah history, right behind Fanu. So, Fanu's, I think, his younger years, but his polished ability when he already came up to college, he was ready for college when he got here, which is rare. He has not given up. So he's played 2,200 collegiate snaps, 543 at left tackle, 1,616 at right tackle. So he's gained versatility in his time there. He can play both, although he prefers to play at right. He has not given up a sack in conference play since October 23rd, 2023 against USC, back when they were a Pac-12 team. And that was the only sack he ever gave up in conference play. A fun and probable fact that works against him, he's given up more sacks to FCS teams than the Power 5, which must be a rarity for high first round offensive tackle prospects. But there you go. I think like the first one was his first game in college against Weber State, but there you have it. Anywho, the accolades that he's racked up in his time at college: freshman All-American in 2023, twice first team All Big 12 in 24 and 25, first team All-American in 2024, and this year, 2025, for Spencer Fanu, he is coming off one of the most dominant offensive line displays over a season by an individual in years. And this is a guy from just 21 years old. So again, he was first team All Big 12 this year. He was Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year. He was a unanimous All-American, which is the major five publications all have to put you as a first team All-American. He got that. He is the first offensive player in Utah history to be a unanimous All-American. He was the Polynesian College Football Player of the Year, and he won the Outland Trophy, which is given to the best lineman in the nation. And again, he is the first player in Utah history to win that award. It has been nothing short of sensational. He is a next level talent. You break him down. This is another Mr. Durability. He has appeared in every single game he possibly could in his college career. He presents no medical red flags at all. No lingering injuries. No, nothing like that. He is just built of something different. Again, as I mentioned, he's also a junior at just 21 years of age. So you're getting a prospect who is highly experienced, but he's still really young. He's like almost Penei Sewell young. So you are going to have a lot of development time in the future to build on what is already an imposing body of work. And why have people been so up on him? Like, why has the hype been so big? It's the run blocking. He is one of the best pro-ready run blocking prospects in years, not just in this draft, in years. And this lies in a mixture of his supreme athletic ability mixed with superior technique and also the schemes that he has worked in college, which are going to help him at the next level. The athletic ability with him is insane. He is going to smash the combine. He's got, as I say, a 308-pound frame, so he's a little lighter than what tackles are. But you watch him, he moves like he's a tight end, playing as a tackle. Like guys who are 50, 60 pounds lighter than him cannot move as quick as he does. And you get to see this in full show with the offense they run. So Jason Beck's the OC there. He has been for a few years now. He runs this really fun, innovative offense. It's a blend of this option power, run heavy scheme. They utilize a dual threat quarterback as well, but they use heavy RPO as well to keep a defense off balance. So, I mean, what it means for these offensive linemen, you've got to run block, run block, run block. You've got to run block till the cows come home, but you've got to do a lot of running. You watch on tape when you see him play, he pull blocks an absolute up ton. Like they'll bring him round all the way over to the left tackle. They love to run the ball between the left tackle and guard with him pulling across because of how athletic he is. You see him get up to the second level on linebackers, bigger corners that come in to start it. Like it's just one of his favorite things to do. The perimeter blocking, the second level blocking. He gets to his assignment so quick. He's just got this explosive get off where he seems to be able to time snaps to near perfection. And you know, when you listen to this, you're like, he'd really do well here in Detroit, and he would, with how we love to run the football, with how we love to use motion, with how we like to get our linemen out into space, blocking downfield. I don't think there's anyone in this draft who's more of a perfect fit to do that aspect of what the game is here. Like I say, he will run for days. He's tough as nails, and he's just built perfectly for how we want to work. So as I say, the schematic fit here is perfect. The run blocking technique that he employs, it's polished, it's almost kind of next level from what college is. As I say, you would be able to fit him in day one and he will work your run scheme for you. There's technical proficiency to his game, like with Farnu, not with Farnu, with Lomu. Lomu's a technical specialist. Farno's a technical specialist as well, but he's got the athletic ability to back it up. He's fluid, very flexible. Again, when he gets out of his stance quick, he's good in pass protection because he can deal with speed rushers who are trying to hit the edge on him. You can't bend round him because of how he gets out. But he's also really good when it comes to more power rush because he's a lighter tackle. Like I say, 308. There are some people who want him to put a little bit of weight on, but you wonder how it's going to take off from the athletic ability that he possesses. But with his footwork, like his ability, like you don't catch him off balance. There's no wasted movement. They say he seems to be able to mirror up to a whole myriad of different edges, and they build him really tough in the Big 12 where he's been the last few years. And not always the best pass rushers, but they are big, chunky, beefy edge rushers who are tough to move out the way. So you've got to have good technique to excel in the run game there, which he does. Um, and as I say, he sees the game differently to everyone else. He's so mature in the way that he plays. Again, the way he can just get off so quickly. He always seems to know where his running back's going, how the plays are drawn, because again, it's quite a complex offense that you've got to learn. They do so much in the run game. You've got to be able to switch on a fly because they've had Devon Dampier this year. You've got your rushing quarterback in there. He loves to work out a pocket, and you can always see where he always just seems to be in the right place at the right time to block. Like he's just got this natural instinct when it comes to the run game. And as I say, the pass protection stuff, this is absolutely fantastic. You give up one sack in conference in 3 years. Kind of just goes to show, even against the likes of your Texas Tech and that this year, it was a really fascinating battle between him and David Bailey. For the most part, he did really well. David Bailey did catch him with an absolutely sick spin move on one play, and maybe it would have been a sack on another day but when you've got a dual threat like Dampier, maybe those figures can be skew-whiffed a little bit. But then I think the play directly after, he just buried him into the ground with a pancake and was just like, okay, you got me, I'm going to get you back. But I just think he's a rare technician when it comes to his run day stuff. He has a hugely high floor for where he's going to be. Even if he doesn't become what you think he's going to be, he's still going to be above average tackle in the NFL. I think he's got the possibility to be elite for sure. Um, what people have been getting at and why they're thinking he's slipping, they do worry about the size. Some people are trying to say he's too lean. Some people trying to say he's a bit too skinny at 308, and is he going to be able to deal with NFL caliber edge rushers? Which it's a fair question to ask. And there's also a few issues that he has with his pad levels that he needs to sort out. But they're rare. They're few and far between. They seem to think he might struggle with speed rushes at the next level. I don't know why, because again, the athletic ability he has, the kick step he has, he's not really suffered with it in college. Um, so, and yeah, it's just because he's a very highly thought after guy. People seem to love to go after these guys when it comes up to the combine and really have at them. And because he doesn't fit the technical size that you should for the NFL, there are a lot of people who are just going to write him off. But I rarely see someone this good as a run blocker at the tackle spot. And again, he's 21 years old. In 3, 4 years' time, he's going to be 25. He's going to be a veteran in the NFL, and his upside is completely insane. He'll start day one because he can do what you need him to. He can in Detroit for damn sure. I would move Penny over and put Farnu at right tackle. If he falls to us in this draft, it is a godsend, and we should take it with both hands. Hell, we should maybe trade up a little bit to get him if need be, but. Yeah, I absolutely love this kid. I think he fits us to a T, everything that we're about. And out of all, if you could offer me any tackle prospect in this draft, that includes Mawigoa as well. Spencer Farno is the one that I would take just because he's just so advanced. Every time he moves up to a new level, he's already ready to go there just because of how good he is. So, yeah, I hope to God that he has a combine that is okay and doesn't fire him back up into the top 10 again. Whatever it does keeps him down with us. Um, but yeah, we watched the kid play. He's absolutely fantastic. I don't see a debilitating problem from at the next level. I don't think the size is going to be an issue. Hell, you can put 10 pounds on him if you want. Fine, whatever. He'll be fine. Yeah, freak athlete, freak technician, freak player. Spencer Farnu. Please, God, let him be the one that comes to Detroit.
Ash.
Again, same as what I said with Lomu. Haven't really watched too much of Utah in depth, though. For some reason, and again, this is based on what I've heard about him, I don't think he's going to get past Arizona. I think they're going to pair him with Paris Johnson Jr., have bookend tackles, and be very nice and happy protecting whoever their QB is going to be. But if by grace of God he does form. It'll be interesting to see what happens because I know a certain member of the panel did say that if TJ Barker's on the board at 17, if they don't pick him, he's going to riot. What happens if Farnu's also there? That'll be an interesting dilemma.
Well, if they're both there and we don't pick either of them, you're going to see me go in apoplectic. That's what you're going to get.
True. They're both there at 17. We take Keldrick Fork. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think Farnu perfectly highlights the difference between him and Lomu. Because my concerns about Lomu are that he's an older prospect without a huge amount of experience, who has freak athleticism and is a technician as a pass blocker, but has a way to go in the run to develop the athletic traits in which he can actually hang his hat on in that regard. Farnu is younger and more experienced and just significantly better in pretty much all respects. Pass blocking, they may be equal, but I think the way that Lomu loses is not the way that Farnu loses. I think Farnu's traits are a bit more coachable than Lomu's are. I think Lomu's are as well, but I think Farnu's are just easier to fix and there aren't many issues at all there. So the difference in the spots in which he'll probably get drafted in this draft won't be significant, but the quality is a massive difference between the two for me. The fact that one team has had these two, the quality of these two guys on the offensive line, they have been so blessed this year, Utah, to have these two guys for the last couple of seasons. So, yeah. Anyway.
And they've got someone even better now, so...
Yeah. Can they bookend with him at the end? Can they bookend him with anyone, is the question, I guess.
I should also mention that Farnu they do use as an inline tight end as well. So if you want to have fun with that, and he has converted 2 pointers in his history as well. We know Ash likes that sort of thing.
Ooh, yes.
They do utilize him as a running back when it comes to 2-point conversions. So he's got a little niche to him. But honestly, he's been fantastic. You've not seen a better run blocker come out of draft in years, and I will put my name to that.
All right, time to move on. And Ash, you've got a guy whose name is not exactly being shouted about at the moment, I would say.
Yeah, but that's because it's hard to pronounce. Of course, I am talking about someone who I've taken in mock drafts quite a bit, and people who saw the mock draft put in our Discord and also on Twitter for someone to rate, even though they haven't rated it yet, which is typical. I'm talking about the Wake Forest tackle Fa'alili Fa'ameu, of which I've butchered his name.
Fa'alili Fa'amoe.
There you go. Someone actually knows how to pronounce it. God help us if we actually do draft him. He is the Wake Forest tackle, wears 79. He's been a right tackle. He's 6'5", 317 pounds. He's a 24-year-old redshirt senior. He played the first 4 years of his career at Wazoo, Washington State, before transferring to Wake Forest after his head coach there went to Wake Forest and started every game of this past season for them at right tackle. He's originally from American Samoa. He played defensive line for Wazoo for the first couple of years of his career there, but only appeared in 1 game. He then in 2022 converted to offensive line and took over the starting right tackle job about halfway through that and started the final 7 games of the season in that position and all 12 of the next season at right tackle. In 2024, he was named to many award watch lists, including the Outland and the Lombardi trophies, but didn't win them. So this past season, 67.7 offensive grade, which included 71.2 pass blocking grade and a 63.5 run blocking grade. He had 4 penalties and further one which was not accepted or was negated. He allowed 20 pressures on the season, 2 sacks, 2 hits, 16 hurries, and had a 97.4 pass blocking efficiency. He also played 35 special team snaps, which were all on the field goal kicking unit, and he had a 64.4 special teams grade. The game I watched for him was the only one I could find, which was week 5 of this past year versus Georgia Tech, in which he had a 63.3 offensive grade, 77.9 pass blocking grade, and a 56.5 run blocking grade. He played 74 snaps because it went to overtime, 37 each in pass blocking and run blocking. He had 1 hurry, 1 penalty conceded, and a 98.6 pass blocking efficiency. Start the game, we had a pretty decent Poole block on it. They ran the ball and he went from the right tackle across the formation. His left tackle was like an inline blocker. Did good. Not exactly great because as we get on to, he doesn't have that plus athleticism that, say, Pede Saul does, but he did enough. The next rep was meh. He had a good first action against his edge rusher, but then the edge rusher just did an inside move and he lost. By then, the QB had scrambled out, so it was not really pressure, but still showing that he can get that good first punch, but then sometimes he can get beaten. Usually it was on those inside moves. Later on in the game, in that drive, he was beaten on a speed move to the outside this time. He does try to he sees it coming, he does try to carry him upfield past his QB, but the right guard gets in his way and the rusher gets past. So not really all on him, but still good initial first move, but then gets beaten by a second counter move. Same goes in the run game as well. Pretty much right after that, he had a good run blocking rep where he does get up to the second level, but then he just allows the guys to disengage to make the tackle on the running back. So it happens. And then the exact same story in the next pulling rep where he pulls, just allows his guys to disengage to make a tackle. So he had some good reps where, especially where he's blocking on the backside of runs, he's able to do that. But he just doesn't show that killer instinct sometimes, especially when he gets that initial win. He doesn't try to kill off the move. It's just like, okay, great, I've won. And now you've beaten me. And it happened quite a lot. The best rep he did have was one where the Wake Forest ran a tight end screen, a nice quick one. And he was really good firing off the snapper that blocks his guy well, really gets up in his grill, and they get the tight end screen out and it works. But for the most part, it was just either average to below average plays. Like, to say, there was a couple of the ones where he just allows his guys to disengage in the run game. There was a really bad pass blocking rep where he catch blocks, but then no one comes towards him and he just doesn't seek work. He just stands there and then, well, luckily nothing really happened in terms of him giving up pressure. Again, just lacking that killer instinct that people want from their offensive linemen, which also is counterintuitive because he's very much a power guy than a finesse. He is that kind of more prototypical right tackle style guy where ground and pound, run blocking mauler, even though the PFF grades don't agree. Because when he does sort of take that initiative and drives out his guy, he wins. But a lot of the time where he's doing the catch blocking or he's trying to be patient, because he doesn't have that good athleticism, it becomes average, which is why he's not seen as like a day one, day two guy, despite having some good traits to him. As I say, when he does take the initiative and start going at his rusher, he's able to win the reps, but it just doesn't happen, and it leads to, as I say, good some reps like mixed one that was in the fourth quarter where he assesses the defensive line, sees they're occupied by the rest of the offensive line, so he climbs to the second level in the run, but then just kind of touches the guy and lets him tackle the running back. Makes a bad run read into a high red zone where he just blocks the wrong guy and the edge rusher just gets to Demon Claiborne, the running back, uncontested for a tackle for loss. He made up for it in the next couple of reps. So he had some really good pass blocking reps where he diverts his rusher around the QB. And on the first rep, he only gives up a pressure because the QB held onto the ball for so long. And then came to the 2-minute drill at the end of the game where Wake Forest could have killed off the game and beat Georgia Tech. Holding penalty in the first play of the 4-minute drill brings back a really good run by the running back. Admittedly, the rusher sells it a bit, but gets his penalty half the distance to the goal line, automatic first down again. And then right after the 2-minute warning, similar to what I said with Blake Miller, he oversets with his top half and he literally falls over and it leads to a pressure. So my comparison for him is someone who plays in division. Darren Kennard, the former Kentucky tackle. An okay backup right tackle / swing tackle, much better at run blocking and the mauling stuff than pass protection. But if you need him to close out a second half of a game or fill in for 1 week if you need him to, you can game plan around him, try and cover up some of his weaknesses, play to his strengths and see what happens. if we were to pick him, he would initially fill the shoes of Skip as that early as that sixth offensive lineman, with the potential to maybe develop into an average backup tackle, right tackle with slightly more if some of his pass blocking technique is worked on. Though, to be honest, because of his age and his athleticism, that is probably his ceiling, and you can't rely for him to become that. He's probably only ever going to be your swing tackle. He could also, and I know this is the whole Colby Sawstall kiss of doom for tackles in day 3, he could slide inside as a guard if tackle does not work out, because maybe that will cover up some of his deficiencies, playing him in a phone booth, letting him play to his run mauling style. So I could see that working for him as well. He is currently the 21st ranked offensive tackle and 230th overall prospect on mock draft database, which puts him as a low 6th round pick. I would have him slightly higher, maybe a round higher as a low 5th rounder, just because he has athletic limitations on his tape and because of his age. Bear in mind, he's a redshirt senior, so he's had all this time to develop, potentially, even though he started his first 2 years as defensive lineman, still had 3 serviceable years as a starter, getting all those reps. So, like we mentioned earlier with Lomu, he's had that 1 extra season as well, and yet he still has less polish than even him. But still, if you just take him in day 3, bearing in mind you're only taking him as a swing tackle, 6 offensive line piece like we do with Skip, I wouldn't object to it, because it would not only just give us that 6 offensive line that we really don't have right now, it might also be a bit of a kick up the arse to Giovanni Manu to be like, come on, get your development going. But not higher than that. Nothing higher than mid-day 3 for me. If another team makes that mistake of taking him a bit higher than that, more for them. Happy to let them make the mistake, even if it turns out to be the next Jordan Mailata, because the range of that happening is so unlikely that, a million other things have to happen before that.
Any thoughts, Ant?
Not really much I can add there. Only that, if you're looking for someone who, again, could fight his way through and kind of prove people wrong, you would look at him. I mean, you look at his collegiate career. Recruited as a defensive tackle to Hawaii. That's where he was initially going to go. Coach leaves, go to Washington State. All of a sudden, you've got to uproot from the Polynesia. You've got to go all the way across there. You're working on the defensive line. It's where you're training to, and then they pull you aside one day and say you're not doing it no more. And then they switch you to the offensive line, which you've never done in your life, and you have to earn your way on there, and you're able to. Then the coach that brings you over to Washington State gets fired in a scandal. You get a new guy brought in. You've got to readjust to another coaching setup. And just as you're getting settled, he goes all the way across country to a new team, and you've got to go to a new division, Power 5, readjust again. Like he's had so much turmoil in his college career that, I can't blame him for not putting up superstar numbers and maybe not been the most developed project yet. So, hopefully someone will give him a shot. And I think he certainly does have the upside to do it. But he is very much a development guy who you're going to stash and train and get ready. But, in terms of the personality and the wherewithal to go and get it, he certainly can. It does mean a lot when you can still succeed despite having that much upheaval in your career.
All right, time for our last one in depth, and then we'll speak around some of the other top prospects. It is the offensive tackle Monroe Freeland of Georgia. He is a true junior, 21 years old. He will turn 22 before the start of this upcoming season. His birthday's in July. He is a verified 6'7" and 1/8 with weight 311 pounds and 34 1/8 inch arms. PFF grade this past season of 72.1, the pass blocking grade of 85.6, but a run blocking grade significantly lower than last season of 61.7. The last guy I talked about in Caleb Lomu only had 1,620 total snaps. This guy has 1,667. So I seem to be the guy picking the people who aren't particularly experienced. At least for Freeland, he's 21, not 24 years old. And so there is a bit of runway here for Freeland to develop as he's still relatively raw. He is a left tackle, although he had some backup swing tackle experience last season at Georgia before becoming the starter, where he played both right and left tackle. He's played 287 snaps at right tackle, so he can swing both sides. He also, this past season, had 8 reps as an inline tight end. So some of that stuff that you heard about Fano is true here as well. He has allowed 6 sacks in the last 2 seasons, but only 9 pressures in this most recent season. And given that he became a starter for the last 5 or 6 games in 2024, to go 2025 and only give up 9 pressures when you've had that limited experience, I think speaks absolute volumes to what this guy is as a pass blocker. He was a 2025 second team All-SEC player and a former 4-star recruit. This is my favourite tackle prospect this year. Not because I think he's the best tackle prospect. I think that's Fano. But because I think Freeland is my favourite in terms of value for money, the possibility of drafting him at 17, and the combination of what your floor and ceiling looks like. So I'll go through different things and then I'll talk about floor and ceiling towards the end. His athletic testing is going to be excellent. So the guy is super explosive, gets out of his blocks very quickly. Much like I was saying with Lomu, he is used to block on the second level a lot. A lot of his deal was trying to get past the edge rusher to get to the linebacker and seal things off. He often pulls across the formation. He will sometimes even come inside and be a lead blocker on run plays. That's the sort of guy he is. But in contrast to Lomu, Freeland is a mauler in the run game. His grade doesn't say he's particularly good at being a run blocker. I'm going to take umbrage with it slightly because he's not good, but in a completely different way to Lomu. So he plays with excellent pad level in his run blocking. I think that for a 6'7" guy, you'd think that you get caught being a bit tall, but especially as the season developed, he developed massively, and the player he was game 1 2025 is not the player he is now. The way that he can get low and drive people back, he consistently was able to get underneath the defenders he was playing against and create room. The biggest problem he has is sometimes he just misses his assignments. He actually is not a headless chicken, but he's so explosive. He sometimes just overruns things, which is not great, but give me that guy. Teach him to actually put their athleticism exactly where it needs to be. His hand placement is not incredible, and that's something which I think is quite easily fixable. In terms of getting to that second level, he has some problems with overbalancing. He's really leaning forward when he runs, and that means that he can get tossed quite easily, especially by linebackers who kind of have a wrestling background. So basically, if we bring back Malcolm and we draft Freeland, have them have a face-off. Like, Rodrigo will get everything from Freeland because Rodrigo will make a fool out of him and it will get him stronger, strength on strength. If you can fix that, I think that Freeland's going to be a real menace in the run game. Pass blocking wise, excellent throughout the season. His lowest pass blocking grade for the season was 66.8 against Florida. Again, this is a guy who is patient. The Lions are going to have to teach him their way of doing things in terms of going and getting that pass block. Freeland, again, likes to wait for people to come to him, but he times his punches very, very well. Excellent lateral agility, which means when he comes up against speed rushes, he mirrors them very, very well. Like Lomu, although the hand placement in run blocking is not great, in pass blocking, he's a bit of a technician once again. Good placement. When he gets his hands on you, he locks you up. It's really, really impressive for someone who's had so little reps that he is quite so polished as a pass rusher. Plays stunts really, really well multiple times on tape. I saw either the tackle wheeling around the edge or the edge disengaging and trying to take him out. You know, he didn't have any of that. Communication with his with his guard was really, really good. In contrast with the pad level on the run blocking, which I think is very good, in pass blocking, the height can work against him because he doesn't go and get it and he waits. He can be a bit upright, which means that if he comes against a bigger and more powerful edge rusher, I do wonder whether that could be an issue for him. But like I say, very few people gave him trouble at college in terms of pass blocking. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see whether that's going to be an issue at the next level. Can overextend and kind of lean forward and be a bit on his toes. So maybe a little bit more balance. Maybe trying to be a bit more aggressive with his pass block in terms of going and getting it. The other thing to really mention about him before I talk about ceiling and floor is that this guy is a bit of a warrior in the same way that the Lions offensive linemen are. He suffered a high ankle sprain against Kentucky in week 6. He only played 11 snaps in that game, so had to exit it. He played with that high ankle sprain the rest of the season. There's some story which was brought up in the conference call with Daniel Jeremiah about the fact that his mum's a yoga teacher or something, and apparently because surely he does yoga as well, even though that wasn't something they discussed, that might help him play through injury. Well, that's demonstrated here. He did not miss another game, and in fact, his run blocking took a bit of a dip after that game, but his pass blocking, if anything, improved, which is frankly insane. If you think about what Penne did this season playing through his significant injuries, if you think about what Ragnow and Decker have been through in their careers, and if you think about the disappointment we've had with those injured players who can't play through injury, Freeland has put it on tape that he will get a significant injury and he will play fucking well in spite of that. That's worth a lot to me. Like, it's not great he had to deal with it at all. It gives me worries it might reoccur. He's going to play. He's going to play well. In terms of ceiling and floor, the ceiling for Freeland is the best left tackle in the NFL. Like, the stuff in the run blocking, you can coach. It's not a huge stretch for me to say that I think you can really, really fix that. The traits that he has are so translatable. When it comes to pass blocking, I don't think he's far off being the guy. Like, Farno's better than him, but I don't think by much in terms of the pass blocking. The run blocking is a completely different animal there. Farno is much, much better than him right now at that. But for Freeland, you're going to be drafting him. So at the moment, the consensus board on Mock Draft Database has Freeland as number 30, which is the 5th offensive tackle. He's being mocked to the Lions at 17 a lot. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not available at 17 and goes higher. He could be a top 10 player. In terms of floor, let's say he never fixes some of the issues he has at run blocking, like misses assignments here and there, overruns things, hand placement a bit iffy. But you know what? What he has is that he absolutely dominates a lot of his run blocking reps. He just has some whiffs, whereas some people don't make a massive impact but are kind of just in the way. So when you have Freeland, every now and again, he'll cause a tackle for a loss and he'll torpedo a drive. When he hits some form, he'll win drives for you on that side of the line. And the pass blocking is going to get you by. Like, as a floor, he's going to be fine. I just kind of truly believe that his floor is therefore going to be quite high, but the ceiling is very, very high. And that's what gives me confidence to draft this guy a bit higher than you ordinarily would for someone at his current quality level. Because right now, if he never improved, he'd be a fringe first rounder, and that's where I have him graded, an 82. That's probably going to put him about 20th on my board, but he's one of the lowest first round grades I have. Maybe he's a bit higher than that on my board, maybe 15, 14. But the way that he plays, the aggression he plays with, the grit, the playing through injury, and all of these athletic traits, you don't need to put any more weight on him. I don't think it's going to be a big difference. This guy gets me out my chair excited. And I am so hyped about the possibility that this could be the guy. And you know what? To Ant's point about people playing left tackle, he's not that experienced, but he is experienced at left tackle compared to a lot of these guys. And you know what? If we don't want to move Penne, that's what we fucking need. To turn it over to you boys, and Freeling, I saw you kind of laugh at one of my comments a minute ago. So I don't know what you feel about him.
I mean, you said ceiling best left tackle in the NFL. That's what I laughed at. He's not even close to that level. 16 career starts coming up to the NFL, shoulder surgery, ankle issues, the medical history's not right. He's stiff in the run game. He's not that good in the run game. And when it comes to big games, he's struggled traditionally over the years. RJ Oben destroyed him in the playoffs last year. I mean, absolutely obliterated him. He struggled against Ole Miss the last couple of years, Alabama in the championship game. When it comes to the big stage, he's been found wanting, and it's all about traits with him. No one was talking about him 2 or 3 months ago. There's a reason, right, why all these guys who come out of left field in the draft process, though, there's a reason why they're coming out of left field. No one's taken a second look at them, really, in this before the drafts come along. Draft season comes along, people want their hot takes, people all of a sudden seeing stuff they've not seen before. Like, I don't get it, really. Again, he's young. He's not played a lot of football. It means there's a lot of room for improvement with him, but the run game stuff is not good. Like, where Spencer Farnu could come to the league tomorrow and start as a run blocker, Munro Freeland cannot. There's way too much work that needs doing with it. You bring him in for his pass, bro. He's about the same size as Decker, so yeah, that's fine. We can put that comp out there, but he's got a long ass way to go before he's challenging anything remotely near a top 10 left tackle in the NFL position here. And you've got to get over those injury worries. The shoulder surgery was serious. Like you said, it's fine that he's playing through a high ankle sprain, but what damage is he causing his body into the long run? He played through that shoulder injury through a lot of last year as well. What damage is he doing to himself playing through these injuries in the long term? Who needs to be known? The medicals at the combine are going to be big for him in terms of are there any lasting issues that come up, which I'd have issues with there. And, I don't know. I don't see it there. Like when Tate came out last year, Tate had what I say an aura on that offensive line where he looked and felt dominant. He was an NFL player and he was a dog, as they say, ready to make that step up. You don't get that with Munro Freeland. So he's just very raw, not played much football, and has way too many issues that need sorting. You pick him at 17. I'm very disappointed in the team. I don't care that he's played left tackle. I would sooner switch Penne over there. He's one of the rawer prospects. He's one of the prospects you've got to do the most work on to get what you think you're getting. Like, I agree. Maybe in the end, when all is said and done, could he be one of the better tackles out of this lot? Yes. But the journey to getting there and the look you're going to need to get there is a lot more than a lot of the others to get to where they want to go. So, yeah, just what I've seen of him over the years, and again, I'm not as sold as that, having watched him now for a while. Yeah.
I did mean when I said top tier left tackle, best left tackle in the NFL, when all is said and done. I don't mean tomorrow.
I just don't think he has that about him anyhow. Like,
Fair.
there's just way too much that's not there. He's not fit to lick Farnu's boots right now, and Farnu's smaller and has issues there, but he is way more technically refined.
And I did say that too. Farnu is way better right now. I
just don't think Freeling is that level of player. Is he serviceable left tackle in the NFL? Yes. Is he elite left tackle in the NFL? No.
I would say that I don't think Decker comp is particularly apt, just because Freeling loves to go at people in the run game. Like, he whiffs a little bit sometimes, but Decker doesn't seem like he loves run blocking particularly. He'll do it, and he's fine. But Freeling's just a mauling, twitchy, sometimes slightly out of control guy. And, like, that's why I love that a little bit. Anyway, Ash, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm probably in between the both of you then. And what I haven't again, seen much of him. Obviously, he has come into the radar with obviously DLP, especially pumping him up. But one comparison I have seen for him, and based off everything seen here, I can see it. And it's someone I actually brought up before on this podcast a couple of times because it's a pretty good player on a shit team. Colton Miller, good pass protector, can do work in the run blocking game. And honestly, I know it's maybe talking more to the lack of good left tackles in this league. But I'd say Colton Miller's a top 5 left tackle in the league right now. Him, Trent Williams, Garrett Bowles. Can't think of anyone else really. So again, well, yeah, it does. Well, that is definitely his ceiling. He could get to that point. The obviously balance probabilities is not. It probably will fall into that teledecker zone, but given we'll have to work on the run blocking for sure, but pass blocking was the kind of the big issue on the line last year, in my opinion. And well, yeah, he's not exactly a 10 out of 10 pick. If it is Freeland, I'm not exactly gonna, cry. I'd be. It's that step above the whelmed zone of Blake Miller and Kendrick Falk. He's a bit better than that because I can see the path to the ceiling. But yeah, he's not exactly a home run pick.
Let's speak about some of the other high consensus tackle prospects in this draft, and let's start with the guy currently sitting at number 1, it's Francis Mauigoa. I have been having a look at him this afternoon, but I want to canvass opinion first before it comes to me. So, Ash, as you're the ACC guy, you've seen a fair bit of this kid. What do you think of him?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have with how with me still. As much as I like to pretend, and I'm saying I'm doing holistic view, I'm still a FSU fan, so I have seen him. I do really like him. I do. But this is a but, and it's not a big but, I promise. This is not a Anaconda Nicki Minaj music video size but. I think where he's currently been slotted is too high. I loved him when he was in our range. I was saying to Matt off air. When he was being mocked at us at 17, and that's roughly where he's getting picked. I think that's the perfect range to him because he's not the best tackle in his class. I think it's just the weight of the college football playoff there and people seeing that as kind of overinflated him, and hopefully things will come back down because, God, if we pick him at 17, 9 out of 10 pick. I do really like him. I like what he does in the run game. The pass protection's good enough for me. It's just, yeah, there is a better tackle in this class. We've already discussed him. So him going top 5, no, not for me.
And
I love him. I've not really done much because he's not going to be here when we pick. But you think back to what Talisi Fuanga was a couple of drafts ago. He's much better than him. And Talisi Fuanga is like a road grader. An absolute road grader who is strong, physical, imposing, both 6'6", both about 320, similar builds, but Mauigoa loves to dominate entirely. He is 20 years old. He started since day one. He's a true junior. Like he's another. Like that Miami system has done so well just putting true freshmen in there and them having full longevity careers there, but he's 20. Like the upside he has is absolutely insane for his age. Again, there are parts of his game like the pass protection people will look at and say, look, it could improve. He's 20. Some kids are still going to be in college for another 4 or 5 years at this point before they come to the draft. He's coming to the NFL now and he's going with top 10 hype. And that is why, because you're taking what is already a very polished prospect who's got a ton of distance to go, who's going to be with you for 10, 15 years potentially. But he has that Fuanga danger to him where you're just like, yeah, fuck, I'm ready to see him run over guys for days. I'm ready to see some 280-pound defensive ends get sent into tomorrow by him. He's very exciting. In terms of like, yeah, you're probably going to play him at right tackle. So I agree, maybe not the best tackle prospect in class because I don't think he ever will play the blind side. But in terms of just like the best outright tackle who could come out of this draft, he's certainly in that equation again, just because how young he is. Like he's barely going to be 21 by the time his first season starts. Like that's Penne territory, and he could well take a similar path to what Penne does in terms of just how he dominates from day one at right tackle, and no one can shift him.
Yeah, for me, the biggest positive about him, as Hannah's just said, is his play at his age. He is, for all of the guys who've only played 3 seasons, easily the guy that's played the most reps. He's just under 3,000 snaps, which, as a 20-year-old, is ridiculous. I have some serious concerns about him because of the way that he consistently loses in a particular way, which I don't think is coachable, which is that his timing of his punch sometimes is way off. And against some of the longer-armed, more powerful edge rushers, especially can crushers, he has a tendency to get hit and lose his inside shoulder. And the number of times on the few games that I've watched of him where he is having to rely on the fact that he's an exceptional player and have that recovery athleticism to just about do enough at the college level means that when he's coming up against people like Khalil Mack and people of that ilk, I think he's going to get wrecked. As Ant said, he's 20, and I hope I'm wrong about that being coachable, because it's a timing issue partially, but then partially, is it an arm length question? And I haven't mentioned arm length as a negative about anyone yet. He's got 33.5-inch arms, which isn't like really small. And there are plenty of people with 33-inch arms and above who've been absolutely fine. But it's the combination of his timing being slightly off and his arms being slightly smaller that just gives me a little bit of pause. For that reason, because generally speaking, he's a very good pass blocker apart from that, and in the run game, he's not quite up there with Fanu, but he's really close. And he's aggressive, and his pad level's good. And the way he squares off in the run game is really, really good to create those rushing lanes. His technique is very, very good in the run game. He's somewhere in between Fano and Freeling for me. Because with Freeling, like with Marigoa, they're young and there's ceiling there. Marigoa's a slightly better player now and slightly younger and has played more reps. But I haven't seen Freeling have that sort of issue where I've gone, is that going to be a game-breaking issue against some of the elite of the elite? Whereas Freeling is a worse player, but I haven't seen that consistent issue. It's something I have to weigh up. But with Marigoa, it's worth the shot because of his age and because of the experience and because of the ceiling that's there. So, tantalising prospect, especially when he was mocked us at 17. He's going to go top 10, and it's going to be a shame for us to miss out on him. But at the same time, he worries me a little bit. Just a little bit. The next prospect that we have to discuss, the next guy on the consensus board we haven't yet discussed, is someone who, and I don't want to preempt the panel too much, I'm not sure with particular fans of. I know that there are a lot of Lions fans who are a fan of the 20th ranked overall player right now, the offensive tackle from Alabama, Caden Proctor. I've gone on a little bit, so it's time to turn it over to Proctor's biggest fan. And how do you like Caden Proctor?
That's a lie, for starters. He's speaking very ironically when he said that. I mean, I don't know. Ask the panel's resident Florida State fan, because they ruined him. They completely and utterly. And again, I'm sorry, with all due respect here, one of the worst teams in the Power 5 over the last couple of years. who have not had any success whatsoever and don't really have any big prospects on that defensive line.
You can't say shit because they didn't even
They
didn't even make the playoffs.
He was going to comment there. Absolutely and utterly abused him. First, his frame at 370 odd pounds is too fucking heavy for the NFL. Like, he's got to drop way off there. But people like him because he's from Bama and we're roll pride. Like, oh, it's an Alabama prospect. Brad will take him. He'll be absolutely fine. I see a clunker, and this is the problem I have with Jennings Dunker as well. And look how Jennings Dunker's hypes fell off. He was a first-round pick a month ago, and everybody's forgotten about him in Lions Land now. His footwork is poor. Again, this comes to his size. He is susceptible to speed rushes. He has made a living in the SEC. But when you've seen him struggle, he struggles against speed. The NFL is not going to be so forgiving to him. He's raw. He immediately reminds you of the previous left tackles who've come out of that system, who have either not made it in the NFL or who've had to move inside to guard, which is probably what his future's going to be at some point. He's young. That's what people say about him. He's 21, I believe. He'll be going into his age 22 year here, and he's got a lot of developmental upside, which he does. But he's not as good against the run as other prospects that we have here. For me, he's not the best pass protector when it comes to speed rushes like some of the other guys are as well. I don't see his defining trait compared to everyone else. It's his ceiling, which everyone is really excited about. Because, get me wrong, his ceiling is very high. He could be sort of a top 5 left tackle in a draft with his build and the way he works. And he is athletic for his size, but there's just way too many basic technical issues for me in there that I can't ignore. And there's too many games in there I'm looking at where I'm like, I can't ignore the problems that I'm seeing, either specifically that week 1 game, and games again in high pressure environments against some of the better opposition he's come up against. I'm just not sold. If you're ranking tackle options for Lions at 17, he's not in my top 3. I think he struggles to get in my top 5 at that point there. I don't see it. He's a Bama player, that's it. That's what people see.
Ash?
Yeah. What was I said earlier? Welcome to the new Mekhi Becton. Like, similar kind of thing. Big, strong tackle who's got some athleticism. Just doesn't work out, and it could work that he could slide inside like Becton did for Miami last year, but yeah, team's going to try him at tackle, and it's just not going to work. Like, yeah, we absolutely rinsed him week 1, and that's when we were installed our new scheme, and yeah, Nick Williams had a really good game against him. There's a speed rusher for you. But just showed like the best things about him were the trick plays they did with him, which suggests that, yeah, even they were seeing that it wasn't the best. And that might be partly because Bama like to do, I keep saying about the catch blocking, but they like to do it more than anyone. They have moved away with it in recent years with the change at head coach, but still something they'd like to do. It just doesn't work. Like, some team's going to take him. They're going to see all the like the sort of athleticism that's there, and they're going to overdraft him because of it, and it's not going to work. Just like we saw with Mekhi Becton, he should not have been drafted in the first round. The Jets took the chance. It didn't work out. They're finally moving, like they're finally getting some good tackles there. But yeah, please no. Even though I know we can do all the skip trick plays with him, not at that premium. Even me, the most sicko there is for trick plays, no.
Technique is his kryptonite. And you come up to the NFL and you're facing nothing but technique here. And yes, you'll work well against the clunking, big, can-crushing edge types in this league. But when you're at left tackle, you're not facing those sort of guys. You're facing the technically refined pass rushers who are going to hit you here, there, and everywhere. There's just way too many examples of him as his height and his weight. When people get under him and force him backwards, you know, you can't set an anchor when you're that big. You just start in motion going backwards and that's it. You can't set against it. It's just people are fascinated by it. And again, it's the buzzwords. It's what he could be, but if you don't show it in college at least a little bit, all this rare size and shit you go for, more often than not, is fool's gold because you don't get to where you need to. For starters, he's got to drop weight. His weight at the combine is going to be big this week. He needs to be down to 350, getting below 350, because he's got too much at the moment, and the NFL is going to expose him brutally when he comes up at that size.
Just watch him against someone like Von Miller. It's going to be brutal. Like, against a DPR, he's going to suffer. And the reason why he's bad against speed rushes, apart from the fact that he's just a Hulk, is that he's slow off the snap. Like, it's like watching someone struggle against themselves. Like, he's fighting his body going, this is actually a really big effort for me because I'm almost a 400-pound man. Like, if he loses some weight, maybe, but like, the footwork's shoddy, the hand placement isn't great, super powerful. If defenders let him get his hands on them, the rep will be over. There's no doubt of that. But would he be a penalty machine? Is he going to hold on too long? Is he going to enjoy that too much? Like, there's so much going on there. And fine, if you want to have a look at the gadget stuff and go, that's cool, let's throw him a wide receiver screen. Like, okay, but left tackle isn't a gadget fucking position. Sorry. It's just not. And, okay, this isn't Giovanni Manu either, but he's like a high third-round pick. Really. If we're being serious about what he actually can do. And, like, we'll talk about the fact that he needs to bring his weight down in order to survive. Why is everyone convinced he'll be able to do that? Like, we talk about, like, injury worries being something which is going to hold someone back and depress their value. His weight should depress his value, because until he proves he can do it, why should we believe him? Like, he's come out early. If he was going to declare, prove to the NFL you can play at an NFL weight before you declare. Like, it's super worrying. He's got to come into the combine. I presume he's been invited. I haven't checked. I'm sure he was on your list last week, but sorry. If he's been invited, show that you've shed the weight. If you get him down to 350 pounds, as you said, and then we can have a conversation about him as a prospect. But until he does, is he going to get the treatment that Miami gave their guy, who was 400 odd pounds last year? Just be put on injured reserve until we can prove that he can actually play? Like, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It just worries me big time. Right, last one, and it's only because, well, not only because, one of our guys supports this team. Two, personally, I was super impressed by him. Is someone that I will butcher the pronunciation of once again. He is the 7th tackle on the list from Arizona State. Number 40 overall. Max Inacho, right tackle. Someone who I think is probably going to be a riser through this process and has risen already quite a long way. Ash, to go to you first this time. Iheanacho, I think, is an intriguing prospect at a position where, if at the moment we wanted to trade up from 50, he's within touching distance. Or indeed, if we were going to trade down from 17, he might be an option too.
Yeah, like, he, to me, and again, I've only really seen clips of his early season and one game from his later season. He is what people think Proctor is, but a right tackle as well. Like, bearing in mind he didn't really play football. Like, he's got the whole story. Obviously, he moved to America from Nigeria. Didn't really play football until he was in his teens. He's still developing. I'm stealing a bit of this analysis from Eric and Jared and from Riz here, but you compare his tape from like week 1 this year and his tape from the end of this year, the improvement is so noticeable. And I just feel like you give him to Hank and you let him work his magic, because you've got to remember, I know there's been some duds recent years on the offensive line. Manu, Colby Sawstall. You remember what he's done to players like Skip, Evan Brown, arguably Awashika. He can develop offensive linemen. And I think you just give him max and just say, okay, Decker's agreed to come back for 1 more year, so you've got 1 year to redshirt this guy, and then start of next season, Penne's going to the left, and you're slotting him in at right tackle. I think Anne could work some absolute magic with him.
And
Yeah, I really like him. Again, the story is everything with him. He's not played football for that long. Um, he was a basketball player, and he was going to do basketball, and then one of his coaches said, "Oh, you should try football instead." And he's not just been gifted it; he's had to do it the hard way. He started in JUCO, um, so he played a few years in JUCO, dominated there. Then, weirdly enough, he actually followed his offensive line coach from JUCO up to Arizona State with Dillingham, and he's established himself there really quickly, considering he's a JUCO lad. Arizona State seem to be really good at getting these guys from lower levels to come in and perform, but starts year one. Then, before his first year as starter, he spends his entire spring recovering from a torn labrum. Doesn't train in spring, doesn't really do a damn thing for them until just before the season starts. And for him to just waltz into that side at right tackle and help take them to a Big 12 championship, their first ever, or the first in a very long time, the standard that he played at, given how little football he's played, the fact he's rehabbing from injury, has had no practice whatsoever, kind of just shows you that developmental upside that he has. He's got a fair bit of experience under his belt now, and the way Arizona State play football, he loves to run block. You have to run block for your life there. They pump out NFL running backs year in, year out because the linemen up front are maulers. And you look at him and you watch him play and you're like, shit, I really wouldn't want him running at me, trying to kill me. Like, he's intimidating. Obviously, he is a little bit older, but given his time frame, how long he's played, how much he's learned, how tough he is, and the way he's risen up through the ranks, you would not put it against him doing it again. Like, I would have every faith in him to be able to again, providing, the injury history checks out. Don't like torn labrums and shoulders and shit with offensive linemen, but it was 2 years ago, so I'm hoping that's kind of all behind him now. But you're looking in the 49 category with someone like Tiernan, then yeah, you're very happy to take him there with what he will give you, especially if Decker comes back for a year. But he would seem like the type of player we would quite like.
I'd love him. I really love him. I agree with Ash's kind of comparison that it's what people think are getting in Proctor, because at £325, being an athletic freak like that and having the kind of hip flexibility and all that sort of stuff that you want from there, and the fact that he didn't give up a sack in 2025 despite only playing football for as little time as he has, and that includes going up against Texas Tech.
Exactly. That's the game I watched.
Like, there's technique to improve on, and like Ant said, he is an older prospect, but that's why he's getting consistently mocked at the top of the second and not the middle of the first. That's a fair difference. But if we're going to move Penne over and start him and just live with some of the brain fart sometimes that comes with a player who hasn't played a lot of football like that, and especially not growing up with the sport, I could live with the highs.
Mm-hmm.
Or live with the lows to get the highs. And as he develops, that could be such a steal. All right. I'm going to reel off some of the other guys on this list. And if anyone has anything to say very briefly, then we can just do that now. So, Jennings Dunker, we've already mentioned. Brian Parker II from Duke.
Centre.
Okay.
He's going to be a centre in the league. He's Graham. Remember Graham Barton a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Exact same career track.
Isaiah World, number 97. We know that he's potentially almost not going to get drafted because of his injury problems and the fact that he's an athletic freak who isn't very good. Demetrius Kronova, Texas A&M. Austin Barber, Florida. Drew Shelton, Penn State.
Big guy.
Cage Casey, Boise State. JC Davis, Illinois. Jude Bowery, Boston College.
He's okay. He's a decent day 3 option, maybe as a backup to develop.
Trey Zoon III, Texas A&M.
supposed to slide inside, I think. This is
See, that's the
bad
name,
letters.
though. Trezu, people are just going, oh, it's length, he's going to go inside. It's fucking lazy. This guy has been a 4-year left tackle at Tamu. He's a 2-time team captain. He is Tamu personified. And I don't see any obvious deficiencies with his game. It's lazy people looking at measurements. Because he's a day 3 pick, they think, oh, he's going to move there. But watch him play, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way that he plays. There is nothing that gives me cause to think he will not succeed at tackle at the next level. He's been just the definition of consistency, which you struggle to get in this day and age. That Tamu team's been much better these last few years as well. I know he has played a little centre this year. They've trialled him out there a bit, so you could add versatility to the books, but I would happily stash Trezun as a prospect development and kick Manu out the building instead and get him going, because I think he'd offer you a lot more. So it's odd with him. Cage Casey's interesting as well. For those who've forgotten, this time last year, Cage Casey was in the first round of NFL drafts. He was in the sort of 25 to 32 area. Whether people were just sort of coming off the Ashton Jonty at Boise hype or whatnot, I do not know. But Cage Casey has a lot of good upside to him as well. He's a 3-year starter for Boise. Been nigh on unbeatable as a pass protector. And again, his run blocking's really good as well. I don't see what he's done or not done that's led him going to been a fringe first round pick to now a solid day 3 pick. What is he, about 6'5"? Size is decent, but there's some really intriguing prospects, really experienced prospects later down here. People have kind of just gone, yeah, no, whatever, which I don't get.
Rounding off the remainder of the draftable prospects, we have Markel Bell from Miami of Florida, Emil Wagner from Notre Dame.
He's good. Wagner's on my list to watch after his Shrine Bowl.
Tristan Lee of Clemson, Riley Molman of Wisconsin, Carver Willis of Washington, and then just outside the draftable numbers is Alex Harkey of Oregon. And if you listen to our Oregon fan in our Discord, you will know that that is a very bad thing. And it is very bad. Yeah.
Another one that's just outside is Nolan Ricci, the tackle from Penn State. Although also had a good Shrine Bowl, but he's at 360.
If you're looking for a real fringe outside one as well, watch for the Memphis tackles. But Travis Burke's 6'9". He's absolute fucking monster. Who, if you get him right, because he spent a few years at Florida International. I like my Florida International players. I watch them a lot. But he's had an all-dominating year at Memphis. And someone you can certainly do something with at the next level. He'll be stashed as like an undrafted free agent type, but at 6'9", you see him. Good lord, this man can move people. He could move anybody in front of him as a run blocker. I would love to see us have a little go at him, see if we could make something of him.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we sign off? All right. We're going to call it a show. College Football Podcast, and it's going to be back later on this week.
Yep, we'll be looking at the defensive prospects in the combine before it officially starts.
We are looking at potentially being live during some of the combine workouts on the field, just to answer some questions for you guys and live react to what's going on. What's more fun than just the time drills, of course, is actually what they're doing on the field. That perhaps is the most valuable part of the combine. It's just not statistically... It's qualitative, not quantitative. And you know what drafting is like is numbers, so... watching them is actually the fun bit. We'll have a combine review this time next week on Monday, having a look back at the week that was. No prospects to go through in detail like we did this week, so a week off for us in terms of trying to actually have a look at guys. Instead, it's just going to be watching the huge amount of fascinating pajama parties that we will have. You can find us on our socials, Rural Lines UK, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and the group for worldwide fans, Detroit Lions fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. The website, rotluk.com. We have some great articles being written at the moment by Poole Walker. His most recent one came out just a few days ago, entitled Players with the Most to Gain at the 2026 NFL Draft. It is well worth your time. I'm going to put the link in the live chat right now, so if anyone wants to read it, then they can. There'll be more coming there, and I think we're going to get Paul joining us for some of these shows in the near future, and then for the NFL Draft as well. Just remains for me to thank my co-hosts Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. I'm Matthew Turner, and everyone, I wish you a fantastic week, and we'll see you potentially for the Combine. But for now, let's go Lions. One Pride.
One Pride.
Right.
Recording stopped.